Hi, good morning. It is now 10:10. We're starting our February 14th, 2019 work session. We'll start by standing for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're happy to have our friend Tim back with us.
Yes.
Looking good.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Very happy.
Looking spry.
It's overrated.
I do want to say,
It's overrated.
those who don't know, I was out, I took a spill and had some emergency surgery done, and it was very well taken care of at the Conic Bay Medical Center. But the outpouring of people of the community, between texts, emails, visits, phone calls, cards, flowers, fruit baskets, incredible. And it's kind of one of the reasons I ran for council person to begin with, because of the community and how the community is and how they react in situations. I never ever expected so much support, but absolutely incredible, and that's what I love about this town. So thank you all to everybody for the well wishes and everything. I really, really appreciate it, and it definitely helped me get better, so thank you very much.
And we're glad to have you back.
Yeah, very happy to
I'm
have you
happy to
back.
be back. Let me tell you, reruns on TV all day. Not for me.
Oh, wait a minute, I hope you were watching Channel 22.
Quick story, I had DirecTV, so I never had Cablevision. During this time period, I switched over from DirecTV to Cablevision and watched Channel 22. We've got some work to do. We can, as a board, we can do a better job for the people. All kidding aside, I think we
Yeah,
need to handle our business in a more professional manner,
Couldn't agree
myself
more.
included.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And happy Valentine's Day to everybody. So we'll start out today's work session. We have waste to energy plant presentation. So if we have our guests come up, want to come up and sit at the table and introduce yourselves. You can sit anywhere. We have cameras everywhere, so you can.
I know, I've been watching Channel 12.
What, 22?
Hi, good morning.
How are you? Nice to see you again.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Hi, Tom
Tim
Carver.
Hubbard.
Tim. So I'll start the presentation.
All right, I'll just have everybody introduce yourselves here.
Right. Mark Lembo, CEA.
I'm Tom Carmody with TC Tech.
We know you guys.
Yep.
I'm Chris Harvey with Global Water and Energy.
Okay. Okay, very good. All right, so we will turn it over to you.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for having us today. Basically, we're here to propose a food waste to energy, which is compressed natural gas facility, proposed on the site of the Riverhead Yard Waste Facility at 532 Youngs Avenue, across the street from the landfill. I brought people here today, myself included. I'll give you a little background of me. I'm from SEA, which is Sound Energy Alternatives, and my partner is Galley Engineering. He couldn't be here, he's on another project. Basically, we have partnered with GW&E, these are the representative, and so is Chris. Basically, we have a proven technology to do these AD projects, which
Got
is...
a lot of initials here.
Right, so an AD project, which is anaerobic digestion. So basically, it's like your stomach. Basically, what you put in comes out the other end, methane gas, and we will then produce compressed natural gas and organic fertilizers. That's how it works. We're proposing a 100-ton per day plant that can be expanded to 200 tons. We have a sister plant in Southington, Connecticut, that some people have gone to see. Catherine Kent, basically, and some of the people from the town have been up there to see it. Anyone else that needs to go up, we would like you to, hopefully next week, can come and see it. They're starting to expand their plant, so they've been very successful. And that's GW&E technology. That's been the proven technology in the United States. So that's who we basically use. My partner and I, Galley Engineering, have also successfully permitted another plant in North Haven, Connecticut, which is now going to be constructed as soon as we look at our environmental issues that we had on the site itself. There was some contamination at the yard rail site, so that's what's holding that up. We have successfully done that. So we have seen success here. I came to Riverhead because Riverhead's looking to maybe do an energy park across the street from the landfill, maybe some wind or solar, and this fits in nicely. And we'd like to partner with the town. It is a revenue-producing project, and we'll go over that. Steve Solar, who is our financial expert, that's basically with our company, he will do that financial presentation. The background with us, I just told you, basically for CEA, we will basically permit, finance, construct, and operate the facility if you're looking to move forward. Okay, and now I'll turn it over to these guys and they can tell you a little bit about GW&E, the technology itself.
So, I put together a little handout to run through. The first slide there is just introducing Chris and I. Chris is with the technology provider, which is GW&E, and I am the local representative. My company's name is TC Tech, Tom Carmody Tech, which is me. Basically, the idea here is, as time has gone on, I mean, when we were kids, we didn't recycle bottles or cardboard. And if you go to California today, my daughter lives out there, and you see a third bin in the kitchen for organic. So as time has gone on, we're trying as a society to get food out of the landfills. It's roughly 30% of the landfill, and it's bad for the environment because you're spending energy to get it to the landfill, and then you lose the methane gas, or if you capture it, it's not as efficient as putting it into a digester. So that's the basic idea. Our background as a company, GW&E, has been in the digestion business of what we call high-strength waste, which is mostly from industry. We have plants in breweries, dairies, anything you could think of where they're making large amounts of food. So there's waste coming down the pipe, and we've got over 300 plants around the world converting that type of material into energy. So the idea is you bring the organic down the pipe, put it through a digester, and you make energy. There's choices with the energy, which we'll talk about, but that's the basic technology. More recently here in the States, as these landfills have been shutting down for what they call source separated organics, which is food, we're now making dedicated plants, which is what we're talking about here in Riverhead, where we bring food waste in and make energy. So that's the basic technology. We've been in the business for a long time, but this food waste to energy is relatively new here in the States. It's come along in the last 10 years or so. We have 2 plants operating now, another plant in Connecticut that's permitted, and a whole number of others under development because of, as we're changing, and as this quote on the front page here says from National Geographic, as our population grows, our food waste grows. And it's really a question of getting it segregated, getting it into our digester, and then making some energy out of it. So the next slide here is just the basic process. Chris, you have a copy, huh? You wanna just talk through that basic flow diagram there and tell everyone?
So the first step is the pre-treatment of the raw waste that's coming in, which includes depackaging if the waste is in packaged containers, and decontamination, taking out anything that doesn't have a BTU content to be digested, such as plastic material. And then we send that to the second box, which is the anaerobic digester. That's the biological process where the food waste gets converted into biogas. And then the biogas is treated. In this case, it will be upgraded to natural gas quality, compressed, and sent into the natural gas distribution network. In terms of the waste that comes out of the digester, we have a solid material that we're going to separate into a concentrated fraction that then is going to be used for beneficial use as a compost material. And then the liquid is going to be treated to be able to dispose of in the sewer. So this is very similar to the process that Tom mentioned that we have up in Connecticut.
So just thinking about where these food waste, we call them substrates or organic, feedstock. We look to initially larger institutions, airports, supermarkets, universities, that would have waste food. What we found in Southington, which is up in Connecticut, our plant in Connecticut, we found actually a bigger fraction of what we're getting now is packaged food that's gone past its expiration date. So we initially designed the plant up there for about 25% packaged waste, and we're finding it's actually more like 70%. stuff that's just coming out of warehouses that's been sitting there, and these corporations don't know what to do with it. So we've incorporated in our design with Mark here, what we call a depackaging plant, and they actually are going through an expansion at Quantum right now, the one in Southington, to put the same kind of thing on the front end. So the food is out there, and like I said, we're expanding the plant now. That's one of the big questions always with these, where's the food gonna come from? And Mark, I think you can talk about some of the local sources that you've identified when you.
Yes, and when we talk about the food waste, we're not talking about residential. Maybe someday down the road, the town of Riverhead's very forward about recycling. Maybe there'll be another pail outside your door that basically separates the food. But we're talking right now about commercial food waste. We have 3 local carters, which right now I can't mention who they are, but I do have LOIs from them, basically committing up to around 100, 150 tons per day. So right now, if the plant opened tomorrow, we basically have our feedstock ready to go. And that's always the biggest, not the biggest worry or the biggest problem, it is what you need to have. So in other words, if you don't have the gas, the car's not running. So if we don't have the feedstock, the plant's not producing what we want it to produce. So we're very happy for the local carters, and they are now shipping whatever food waste they have off the island. So it's really very expensive for them to do that. So our tipping fees are going to basically save them about 50% of what they're doing now. So they're very happy to bring it locally for them. It also saves them, besides the tipping fee itself, it also saves them in transportation and gasoline, wherever they have to basically cart it to. So to cart it locally to us, that's a no-brainer for them at this point. So that's where we are with that.
So the next slide here, talking about energy use, basically once you produce the gas, there's 2 directions you can take it. One is you can put a generator in and make electricity, and the second is we can clean the gas to another level, which is the level that's required to put it back in the pipeline or potentially have a natural gas station, which is called renewable natural gas. In this case, initially, I think we've chosen to go with the natural gas approach because unless you're close to good proximity to some other person that you can sell the power to, putting it back into the net metering, into the grid, generally is not as good of a proposition money-wise. So at the front end, we have food sources, Mark's identified. The back end, we would make natural gas. And then the middle of the process, basically, I'm just gonna walk through a couple of slides from the plant in Southington. Some of you guys have seen this. The first slide here is just the artist rendition from before we built it. On the right-hand side here, the building itself is, you can see in the front, there's 2 garage doors. That's where the trucks pull in. The idea being that any truck, of course, everybody's concerned about odor, right? So the idea is they come in, they pull into that bay, we shut the door, and everything in that building is under negative pressure. So if anybody that visited with us up there, when you walk around the outside of the plant, there's no smell. When you go inside, it smells. I mean, we can't change that. It's gonna smell inside. But it's a negative pressure building, and that material, the air, is gone through odor control, which is a double carbon system. And then the big tanks here on the left are the digester. You can see that one tank with the rounded, sort of bluish, that's a gas holder. The gas goes to a generator set. And then the other component of the plant is the back end, which is where we treat the liquid. And we have a technology actually similar to what you have in your treatment plant out there, a membrane bioreactor on the back end to treat the waste from the digester. So now that was an artist rendition. The next slide here is actually,
Is there a double door going in, or is it just a single door going in?
No,
You
it'll
go in,
be,
you shut,
our
and then
plant
there's
is actually, we're looking to go with 3 doors.
3 doors, okay.
Because that, when we get to 200 tons, you're gonna
sorry.
need 3 bays.
sorry.
So the Southington was only one door. We initially looked at 2 doors, but we'll go to 3 doors.
So the next slide is now, we went from artist rendition to actually building the plant. It's called Quantum Biopower. This is, again, a little bit better picture of the entry location there. The second slide here, down on next to the building, you can see the odor control. These tanks in the front are actually the back end membrane bioreactor tanks. If you turn the page again,
Just like, how big is this property that this sits on?
They're sitting on about 10 acres.
10 acres, okay.
And they have a lot of extra property there. The site, I've already taken a look at the site over at Young's Ave. We have plenty of room to, you know, to do what we need to do there.
So what we propose for you guys is 100 ton a day, expandable to 200. So the actual footprint of this is a 100 ton a day plant, is less than 5 acres.
Okay.
The 10 acres includes all the other stuff.
Right.
And the expansion. So, the next slide is similar, it's just another picture of it, but the inside of the bay is shown on the lower left-hand side. And as you can see above the garage doors, you've got the odor control collection system that's on both ends. It's gonna be on the front end there, where the trucks come in, and on the back end where the garage door is. And then we're starting to move into, if you look to the right-hand side here, into the treatment. So once you get it depackaged and into a liquid form, we have a whole series of steps to take out things like forks, glass. You'd be surprised what you get in here, manhole covers and et cetera. You know, we have some gravity separation, we have some sieves, we have some chopper pumps, and then really the final step, well, I jumped a little ahead. You see here, upper left-hand corner, you see a truck in here, that's a liquid truck, that'd probably be delivering maybe a dairy waste or something from a food plant. On the right-hand side, you see the packaging materials that we're getting that are just out-of-date Coke, out-of-date, you name it. Once you put a date on a package, if it doesn't go somewhere, doesn't get sold, it's gotta go somewhere. Once it gets into the pit, there's a liquid receiving station, you can see on the lower left-hand side. You can see, on the, excuse me?
Looks yummy.
Yeah, really yummy stuff.
This for the digest.
If you look in right-hand side, you see we actually recycle a fair amount of the water to help to liquefy the material when we first put it in there. And then the next stage is the upper left-hand corner is the final separator. It's called a DOTA, and that actually tears anything up that gets through the pre-separation and then pushes it through a small screen and takes out the final level of all the like plastic and stuff like that. And on the right-hand side, on the upper side, is what we produce to go into the digester. And I call it like rocket fuel for the digester, because like your treatment plant out here at Riverhead is treating maybe,
It's page 7 if you're,
sorry about that.
yeah, sorry about that.
Is treating maybe 300 to 400 BOD. We're gonna be treating, this slurry on the right hand is 300,000. So it's orders of magnitude more concentrated than a normal waste you would have. And that's why we can get so much energy out of it, right. So the lower slides here just shows the second room, once you dump it in the pit and they chop it all up and circulate it, it's, you know, once it goes through there, it's a pretty relatively clean operation. It's all in pipes, it's liquid, et cetera. But that area, everything that's inside is odor controlled. And the tanks are odor controlled, so everything is negative pressure.
What do you do with all the byproduct that doesn't go into the ingestion?
There's right off that DOTA machine, there's a waste management bin, and it just comes in, it comes up over, it's a really interesting machine, up over, it gets dried and dumped into the waste management dumpster. And that, Chris, remind me, I think that's less than 0.5% is roughly what we said on that plant.
So it depends, obviously, the raw material coming in.
Right, of course, how much packaging is in there.
Right.
And then
And how
the
good
other,
the source separators are.
yeah, and then the other byproducts are all for sale. I mean, well, not the liquid ultimately goes down the
Right,
drain,
packaging.
but there's solids that are used for soil amendment, and you can sell them as organic because there's no municipal parasites or anything in there, and then, of course, the energy.
And that'll all be shown in the financial presentation by Steve.
The liquid that is ultimately dumped down the drain is basically, or it's pretty close to drinking water, from what I understand.
So, we can go one of two ways. We can treat it all the way and get more or less of a direct discharge permit, like you have for your current plant, or we can treat it down to what we would call a pre-treatment standard, and then put it in the sewer, and then run it through your existing plant. And that's, you know, that's just something we would talk about in final design.
Right.
But we use the same kind of technology, so it is crystal clear.
Right.
Like drinking water. And then it's just a question of how much is it getting into the details, how much of the nitrogen do we have to take out, and
Right.
what's permitted locally there.
Right. And we do have a sewer connection right next door, basically down the street. We checked that out. So it'll be really up to the town, if there comes a time when the town really needs it to be, you know, to be a certain cleanliness, then we'll do it, you know, that's, you know, that can always be done, a certain amount of it, the rest of it goes to the sewer, so, you know, that's where we are with that. And it's, again, it'll be up to the town on how we wanna treat that, and how we wanna
And the
make it.
solid waste, you said, is about 1/2%?
That's the, not the fertilizer type solid waste,
Right.
but the just trash,
Right.
basically. Yeah,
Right.
that would be basically like, plastics from, like if you get meat from, we can take packaged meat from the grocery store, that'll come out in the solid waste bottles. But as Chris said, if you got a higher fraction of these pallets of material
Right.
versus a truckload of stuff with a few pieces of solids in it, it would vary, say
Sure.
half to 1%,
Okay.
to be fair, and depending upon the feedstock.
And that just all gets condensed there and then,
Well, right, and condensed there, and then next door, we actually there's a recycling plant right next door, so whatever he could take, whatever he wants to take, he will take it. And the rest of, you know, we're looking to dispose the rest of it as recyclables, basically.
100 tons a day would produce how much water, you think?
About 40,000 gallons a day.
Right. Again, that could be recycled through the plant.
To the sump, right.
Right. Eventually, it's funny, eventually, one of our investor companies that would invest in, would invest in this, and we'll talk about that later, is always looking at these digesters about drinking water. They feel down the road, drinking water is going to be a very, a very valuable commodity. Maybe not now, maybe 10 years from now, 15 years from now, is that they're looking at saying, hey, let's clean up that water so it can actually be used for drinking water. Because we never know what's going to happen down the road. Right now, a lot of places, we don't have clean water in different places. So that water will be valuable sometime. Right now, we're looking to basically discharge it if you needed to, to do any irrigation,
I
whatever.
was gonna say, it would be clean enough for irrigation if somebody
Yes.
wanted to tap into for irrigation.
Exactly.
Well, let me just say, you could enable recycle, because if you've been to the plant out there, you know there's a few
Yeah.
extra steps.
Okay,
So we can add those steps.
Okay.
UV in particular would be needed, and we don't have that in here now.
okay.
But it's incrementally, it's a small amount of money, if you have the
The
place to
custom-
put it,
yeah.
yeah. These last two slides, basically, I took a closer picture of the odor control system on the right-hand side and the flare. I mean, the typical questions we get from a local municipality are, what about odor control? What about air permits? And what about truck traffic?
Yeah.
So odor control, we got covered, we got designed in. Air permits, we would work with Mark's people to get the local air permits, which would basically be the flare, which you see right here. Well, we don't have a generator here, so there's.
And what comes out of the flare?
The flare is if we're not using
It's a safety system.
right,
If you're not converting the biogas into natural gas, you just flare it.
Okay,
for whatever reason.
Combusting it, so.
It's just, like, you can't just put that stuff out in the air, you burn it,
Yeah.
basically.
Right.
So you have to permit that, you permit the gen set if you have a gen set, and then, of course, the liquid solid waste permitting, which would be, you guys would be familiar with from your other plant.
and what kind of traffic? I mean, we had the landfill right across the street, would this be generating more traffic than when we had the landfill?
Not more than the landfill. If you're looking at maybe 25-ton or 30-ton packer trucks, when you're talking about 100 tons, is that 5, is that 4? So that's what you're looking at, 4 or 5 trucks maximum. Usually probably more than, probably 2 or 3 a day, because it's going to be over an average, and the plant will be open, basically 7 days a week for them to bring the food waste to it. So when we talk about 100 tons, we're talking about an average of 100 tons a day. Some days it may be 150 tons, another day maybe only 20 tons. It all depends on where these, what they
Well,
have.
it certainly wouldn't be any more than they got at Crown right now.
Yeah.
Going in there at Crown.
Yeah,
Okay, very good.
right. And the permits, I have a Gantt chart that basically will hand out, that I can get you. It tells you every permit that's gotta be done, state, local, DEP, the whole deal. Like, again, we're very successful at permitting. Galley Engineering my partner will do that. We'll do all of that permitting. And, we're looking probably somewhere around 18 months to 2 years, and then another year to build the plant. So to turnkey it, we're talking, to be safe, right around 3 years.
So I visited the plant with the engineering department, and I do recommend that other board members go up there and visit it.
Right,
It was enlightening.
right.
I mean, I know people are concerned about the smell. I didn't notice the smell at all outside. I did notice it inside, but I didn't find it really terrible, but then again, I talked in the garden, so.
Well, the point is when we went there, they were working on the plant a little bit too. So it's, you know, when you got to about 20 feet or 10 feet of the plant itself, we did have a smell because they had one of the doors open. But, you know, when you have those doors closed, you could have your face up against the side of the wall. You're not going to smell, and that's the biggest thing. That's why other compost areas like we have, you know, other local huge composts, what people don't realize, when you have it in your backyard, it doesn't really smell. But when you've got, you know, 30 tons of compost at different stages, that's the smell. You know, my granddaughter's school district, over in, Yaphank, they have a problem with, you know, with the smell from not only from the landfill, but from local composting guys. So this is not that, is what it comes down to.
I understand all of the concept, and I've done enough research since I've met with you a few times of all that's going on. I did Google and spent a lot of time reading about this, so I can. My question is now, the town, now, it's gonna be a public-private partnership, I guess? of some
Yes,
sort?
and that'll all be explained to you too, through
Oh,
Steve,
okay.
but
So
that's the question now.
I'm just
Ed.
curious, you know, the town's commitment and, you know, future commitments, that's all it is.
Right.
That's-
All right, so Steve will go over that. Basically, it's gonna be a 50-50 partnership. We're not looking to put any debt on the town at all, and there's 3 ways to basically, come up with the money. And Steve will go into that. We have 10-year projections he's gonna show us. So basically, the only commitment to the town is going to be for the permitting, and of course, the property. Other than that, that's it. We're looking at, $500,000, for the permitting. We're looking for you to come up with that over a 2-year period. We have a down payment of around $79,000, which is really gonna be your upfront commitment. And again, we're not looking to put any burden on the town when it comes to debt. And that was made very clear, and I know, I've been in the town for 38 years, and I know we're not a rich town, and basically, this will not put the debt on the town, and plus, it's a revenue source for us, and we'll go over all of that. The reason why we're doing the natural gas, not only because electricity-wise, it's not economically feasible, but there are certain tax credits and RINs that can be sold that basically, could almost pay for the plant itself. So when Steve goes over those 3 things, there's ways. We've already got a commitment, through a traditional, like I said, I have people out in Portland, Oregon, that just do AD plants. They gave us a letter of intent, a letter of support, up to $20 million. And the plant, that's basically what the plant is going to cost us at the back end. If we go that route, that's our safety net, and that will pay basically for the plant itself, but we would lose the majority of the equity in the plant. So we wouldn't make as much revenue, but we know that we can basically, build the plant, operate the plant with that, with that.
And use the
with that
natural
commitment.
gas is gonna be used for the, I guess, now you said there's different levels that you could go, what you wanna do with the gas that's generated. That would go for.
Well, the RINs are
generator
separate.
To run it?
Yeah, no, the
Like green?
RINs are separate. In other words, when you talk about the RIN, that's separate from the gas we're going to produce and sell. We're going to put the gas into the pipeline.
Okay.
So whose pipelines would they be going?
Well, basically, National Grid.
National
So, and
Grid.
National Grid, is struggling with their natural gas supply this far
Yeah,
out
they
east,
w-
so it would be a tremendous compliment to be able to develop our economy out here.
Yeah, and I
because-
already spoke to them. They're very excited. But the only thing is, the only downside is why now the plant's gonna cost us some more money, is that there's not a gas main very close. I've been looking down Osborne Avenue. I'm not sure if it's, I know it's a few miles away. So that's the only thing we'd have to run. The town has the right of way for that. So that's the only extra expense that we would have. We thought maybe we could do 15, 16 million, but, we added that because it's probably gonna cost us that extra to run that pipeline. So that's what we're looking at. Yes, National Grid is looking to basically get out here and, get the natural gas, to its customers. But they're very happy to take this gas. And the company that we have that will buy the gas, actually, is a California company. That's why we're in negotiations with them now for the RINs, and Steve will go over that. but that's a separate sale than the gas itself.
Okay.
I guess I'll
Yep,
turn
yep.
it over to Steve.
Okay, so, most of the project overview, Mark and the team have already gone through. It's gonna be a joint venture between the town and, CEA Energy. The project will be 100 tons.
Just, yeah,
You need to use
Yeah.
the mic.
It'll be 100 tons initially, but it's scalable up to 200 tons at some future point in time. And it's being spearheaded by Mark, who's a well-known resident here in town. A couple of things that we want to take a look at are what I'm going to call is the source and use of funds. And up there, I don't have numbers because I want to have a discussion about what those are.
okay.
Some of the money will come from cash, as Mark had indicated. There's a private equity source that would come in, potentially investing up to 90% of what the total cost would be. But if you use their money, they own 90% of the plant. And they have a preferred return requirement on their money, so essentially you won't see any cash flow for essentially the life of the plant. But it's an option. It's something that's available. Another option is to use bond financing. Through various entities, you can actually do a revenue bond with the plant. It would be a bond with the plant, not a bond with the town. So that the revenues that come out of the plant, and there are a number of revenue bond financiers that have indicated strong interest in doing this. On the Connecticut project that Mark talked about, I helped him get the permitting on that, and we had substantial interest in bond financing that. They've got to get through the environmental issues with the land first, and then they can actually build their plant.
So that's backed by the town at that point as
No.
like a tax?
Nope, it is not an obligation of the town. It's a revenue bond specific to the
Specifically for
plant.
this particular plant?
So essentially what happens is all the revenues that come out of the plant come into a lockbox. There's a waterfall feature. X goes to the bondholders first, and then the rest of the money goes to anybody else that's in the capital stack.
Okay,
So that's an option. A third source of revenue is through NYSERDA. They have a $19 million grant proposal out there that applications are due by March 1st. They will give between $5 and $7 million to different plants as a grant in order to incentivize people to do anaerobic digestion within the state of New York. NYSERDA also has credits that they'll use through a variety of programs that are available to subsidize plants like this, along with federal credits, which I don't have up there. That is starting to sunset because of some of the tax law changes that have taken place, but the federal credit was about 10% of the total cost of the plant, and those credits can easily be syndicated to investors that would buy those credits. And then the next item that's there are the RINs, which is a Renewable Identification Certificate, and that is typically sold to the party that actually buys the natural gas. And that's a tradable commodity that's in the market. I've got a slide to explain how that works, and I can get into that. So those are some of the sources of funding that can be used to finance this plant. On the uses side of it, obviously there's going to be some site development costs. There'll be a physical hard costs in order to build the structure, soft costs to do the design. There's going to be some preliminary O&M that we're going to need to have funded up front because the plant's not going to turn on and have 100 tons day one. It's going to scale up. So you want to have enough money for a runway to get the plant operating efficiently. And then there'll be some financing costs in the event that you construct it. You may want to use construction financing, you may not, depending upon how those sources come in. But there could be financing costs, and that's what would make up your total development costs for the plant. And it's roughly somewhere between $20 and $22 million, depending upon the technology that you put into the plant and how deep of a dive you want to take into whether the water is going to be clean enough to be reused or not. Technologies dealing with wastewater are pretty significant right now. I've actually built a number of plants that involve technologies on wastewater to make the water suitable for drinking. Unfortunately, I've never drank the water because it's still a wastewater treatment plant, and I'd rather put it in a pot where plants are.
I'll be brave.
But well, I'm not that brave. But I've been involved with a number of these types of projects. Some of those grants that we talked about, I've got a little bit of a snapshot for NYSERDA and what they do. And again, that $19 million grant option is available, but there are other sub-grants that NYSERDA has specifically for anaerobic digestion that they maintain. If you wanted to do a deeper dive into that, there's a website that's maintained by NC State, and I'm going to give you the URL for the website, but make sure you spell it the right way, otherwise you're going to get a different site. It's the Database for State Incentives for Renewables and Efficiency, or DSIRE USA. Make sure you put USA attached to it, otherwise you can't get mad at me. And in there, there's a map of the United States, and you click on the state of New York, and it'll actually show you all the financial incentives that exist for any energy efficiency programs in the state, and you can take a deeper dive into anaerobic digestion. So if you wanted to check that out, you can. Another option that's also available is USDA, and you are a rural community, and under the rural community programs, there are grants through the U.S. Department of Agriculture for energy efficiency in rural communities. There's also financing through the USDA, and they'll give you up to 25% of the plant cost in a grant. Now, that's a process, their application process, I think it's due April 1st. That's gonna involve political will. It's not to say they won't do it. They tend to have a bucket of money for their specific regions, and they spread that money around. So it's up to 25%, but you may not get 5 million, you might get 2 million or $1 million from USDA. So that's another option that's available to you, and they specifically look for biodiesel, ethanol, anaerobic digesters, and solid fuel plants that are dealing with alternatives in communities where that need hasn't been addressed. So those are some grants that are available to this particular plant. You really can't see that that well, so I'm gonna hand you a couple of these over on that side. If you wanna pass those over here. This is essentially a cash flow projection that we've pulled together based upon some of the inputs and what we think are some of the expenses for a proposed plant. And again, this will be a little bit of a moving target based upon volume that you get in, as well as the type of plant and the operating side of the equation. And the very first thing that you're gonna see is the tipping. We believe that based upon a tipping fee of about $42 or so, that's a reasonable assumption, and that's supported by market conditions. And essentially, that's what the carters will pay for, they'll pay to drop off the waste at the plant.
What is the current tipping fee for carters on Long Island to have to go out about?
Well, so it's a bit of a moving target because it depends upon what you have. It can be as high as $100.
Okay,
And it really is a function of where you are.
okay.
If you look at,
Excuse me, just to make clear, Laura, basically, there is no place for them to drop off their food waste.
Okay, so it has
Because
to
there
go
are,
out.
they're gonna take it away.
can't drop it off in the landfill out in Brookhaven, of course ours is closed, so whatever they're doing right now is off Long Island.
Okay.
That's why it's costing them that amount of money.
Thank you.
And to put that in perspective, you've probably heard of Hunts Point Market. The amount of food waste that they generate is unbelievable. They put it in rail cars and they ship it upstate New York. It's $200 a ton to get rid of the food waste at Hunts Point Market. And there's a rail company that has a contract, there's a digester that has a contract with them, and they're producing power in a venture with NYSERDA. They cut a different type of deal, but because their tipping fee is so high, it makes the electricity viable. We're being a little bit more prudent, thinking that it's reasonable to assume about $42, $43 a ton is the tipping fee. That number will probably go up, but for purposes of making sure we do something that's reasonable and viable,
Conservative.
we prefer to be more, err on the conservative side than not. The second thing that you'll see there is CNG, and that's based upon commitments that we've received verbally from different off-takers of the natural gas, that's compressed natural gas. That number comes out to just about as a $2.9 million. And that would be an annual payment that they would pay to buy that natural gas, that produced natural gas. And that's based upon a certain amount of volume that would come through the plant. Now, that may become a variable because if you don't have the product coming in, you don't have the natural gas going out. So that's one that's a little bit of a variable. The third item is gonna be sludge. That's gonna be sludge that you can intake with the plant. There's a certain amount of sludge that comes out of wastewater treatment facilities right now. That also gets carted out. It can range from anywhere between $80 to $125 a ton to take it away. There was a fairly large processing plant in Hunts Point that was owned by, I think it was Cargill. And what they would do is take the sludge from the city of New York and they would pelletize it, put it on barges and send it to Florida and sell it to people that are growing grapefruits and oranges, which may make you think twice about eating an orange from Florida. They don't do that anymore because it got shut down. But there are buyers of the sludge byproduct because it's a commodity that's in the marketplace.
We
And
do have an LOI for a person out west that will buy our sludge when we dry it to pelletized fertilizer. That's why when you see it, it says sludge/fertilizer. We're taking our sludge, drying it, and basically make it into organic fertilizer. So when we sell it wholesale, it's probably somewhere around $200 a ton. If we wanted to do something different with it, where we would package it and sell it retail, that's another whole entity, but right now, we're not looking to do that. Maybe down the road, we may say, hey, let's get a, let's get a little packaging, facility, and then basically, we could do that on site, and then that becomes a different when you do it retail than wholesale.
And that's why you see the fertilizer line item with zero,
Okay.
because that's a future byproduct that could be sold into the marketplace, depending upon what demand is. If farmers want fertilizer, they're essentially getting the fertilizer for free. It's the trucking to get it in, it's the cost. So that would make some value consideration for fertilizer. But for purposes of this discussion, again, we prefer to put a zero there, but there will be some value to the fertilizer down the road. So that gives you your sources of revenues. Based upon the discussions with GW&E, they've kind of given us what they think the operating costs would be for the facility. And you can see I have a line item in there for taxes. I've got a line item for rent that has no amount put in there for it, because if we're doing the joint venture with the township, there wouldn't be taxes theoretically, and there wouldn't be rent on the land. And that is how you come up with what the total expenses would be. And obviously, if you net your income from your expenses, that's gonna give you what your sort of net income, your earnings before taxes. I put in there below it a number for debt service. And the number that I used was $5 million, because that's the minimum amount of bonding you would ever want to do. Anything below $5 million would not be cost effective. And I think I used a 6% interest rate over a 20-year self-liquidating period. And again, that bond, if it was issued, would not be an obligation of the town. It would not go into your bonding capacity. It would be a revenue bond dedicated specifically to this plant. And I did that more for illustrative purposes to show you that that's what the impact would be on the cash flows for the project. And if you got the balance of the money from the private equity fund, they put up theoretically 75% of the money. They'd want 75% of the ownership and the profits of it, and they would get 75% of the net cash flow that would come out of the project. And you can sort of figure out how much money the town would get versus the private equity guys.
How does it work with the contribution with the grants, as far as the equity going in?
So the contribution of the grants just reduces the amount of money that you're gonna need to raise from anybody else. So if you're gonna bring the grants to the table, you're working essentially as the project sponsor in joint
Correct.
venture with Mark. That's your equity contribution, so you get to keep that benefit.
Okay.
So if you're successful in getting, let's call it $8 million in grants, and you have $5 million of debt, and now you need $7 million of equity, and you go to the private equity firm, they put up their 7 is their percentage ownership in the plant, you've got the rest.
Okay.
Because you've arranged for all that other money. And that's part of the negotiation you're gonna end up having with that private equity firm in terms of how you carve up the pie, for lack of better terms. But again, this is a 10-year cash flow. I've assumed that you're gonna see an increase in revenues as well as expenses at about 2%, and that is sort of an inflationary number. And that, again, that's just being conservative. You can play around with the numbers. I would do a sensitivity analysis, say what happens if things go up more, what happens if revenues come down. But you can see the bottom line is there's a fair amount of cash flow that would come out of this.
Well, you've only budgeted for a couple of employees. How many employees do you think you're gonna do?
These are not employee-heavy plants. I mean, Chris can probably tell you more
Okay.
about that. I mean, you're gonna have a plant operator that has a license, that there's gonna be a requirement by the state, and you might have a couple of other people that are there, but these are not big employment opportunities.
I don't see a lot of money for that.
The Connecticut one has about how many employees?
6.
Six full-time employees?
Yep.
And are they around the clock?
No,
No, just, okay.
just day.
Just day, okay.
One other thing that I assumed in this, and Mark and I have been going back and forth on this, I assume that the plant operates 5 days a week.
Okay,
It would be eligible to take in material 7 days a week if the town wanted it. I've been on your side of the table
5 days
as an
sounds
elected
good.
person that said, no, 5 days a week, you're gonna operate from 8 to 4. I wanna make sure all the people that elected me are happy and they don't throw me out of office. So there'll be a negotiation in terms of when the plant would operate.
that's what I was wondering, do some of the places do restrictions on truck entry
I think most municipalities will let you operate
between 8
from
and 4 o'clock?
7 o'clock in the morning, maybe until a period of time, and then they don't want you operating any beyond that period of time. Typically, it's 7 to 7, because
Okay.
people come home from work, and that's when they start complaining.
Okay,
But you need to understand, too, though, when we negotiate with the Carters, we're seeing an average of 100 tons a day, 365 days a year.
Right.
So what happens is the plant doesn't shut down. The plant, the microbes, we're still producing gas,
Yes.
24/7. So we may only operate, like you said, 5 days a week, but they'll make up that as we go along. So then, when, say, for argument's sake, Friday they close down, when Monday comes, we're gonna have more traffic than we would the rest of the week.
Well, you play catch-up on weekends
pay-
with
you
the
pay-
stock
you
that
pay
you got.
catch-up.
Yeah, you'll see more traffic on Monday than you will see on Tuesday and Wednesday.
Hopefully
You'll
get it
start
all
to
done
see
by
more
Monday,
traffic
so
on Friday
once
because of
more.
activity that takes place.
Okay.
Think of it like a wastewater treatment plant. Even though the plant operator has gone home, they're still looking at their phone operating the plant. The plant doesn't shut down, it's just the people aren't there.
Okay,
That's the best way to describe it. Regarding the RINs, this is a graph that tells you how these renewable identification number credits work. And to sort of put this in perspective for you, and I'll try to do this as the best way I can. Every state, virtually every state in the United States has come up with what's called the portfolio standards. How much carbon do they want to have in their energy system, and how much renewables do they want to have in their energy system? So the state actually figures out how much electricity is needed in order to operate the state, and where does that electricity come from? New York State's blessed because they've got Niagara Falls. New Jersey doesn't. So what they've done is incentivize solar panels or incentivized other type of renewables in order to meet those portfolio standards. The other part of the equation is you have a lot of energy companies that have small production refineries that are all over the United States. And those small production refineries have not really upgraded to minimize their carbon footprint that's out there. So the government came out and said, we'll incentivize you to provide an offset to people that will actually do renewable resources by creating these renewable identification numbers for a renewable resource that comes into the marketplace. So a small production refinery, say in Texas or Oklahoma, that's not going to upgrade so that it meets this kind of standards for air pollution, can actually buy the RINs and as an offset to what they would have to pay. The best analogy I can give you is if a developer comes into the town and says, I want to build 100 units of affordable housing, and you tag on that 10% has to be, or rather regular housing, 10% has to be affordable, you give the developer the option to just simply give that money to a nonprofit, let them go build it someplace else. It's the same thing here. That's essentially how the RINs work. So there is somebody that's out there that wants that RIN, but the RIN gets attached to the energy stream. So when the buyer of the natural gas buys it, they buy that RIN, and then they'll trade it off to somebody else because they'll monetize it. Because if you have enough of them, it's worth something to the bigger producers. There was a little bit of controversy recently about this program being eliminated. I won't get into the politics of it, but it didn't pass muster. Even in Texas, it didn't pass muster, so they didn't go through. So these things become a tradable commodity, and based upon the demand in the marketplace, they can be pretty high, or they can be low. It's no different than solar panel tax credits that are out there. If you don't have a lot of panels, the tax credit's worth a lot of money. When the market's saturated with panels, the tax credit goes down. These RINs will probably trade at 20-ish or so.
That's discounted right now in the company that we're negotiating with. They're out of California, and right now the California RINs are worth about $44 a piece. So we're looking at $40, and what we're trying to do basically is sell them at a discount, say for 20, and then that amount basically will offset a lot of the cost, or even most of the cost of the plant itself. So argument's sake, we may be able to get $18 or $20 million from the sale of the RINs up front.
Right.
If we keep them, and they usually buy them over a 10-year period, if they wait for us to produce all of the gas, then we're selling them at the retail cost. If we negotiate with them and sell them at a discounted cost of 50%, whatever we negotiate, then that money comes to us up front when the plant is permitted and ready for construction, and then basically we can use that financing, we could use that money to basically offset whatever costs we may have for the plant. That's basically our goal.
And that's in large measure because of California's pollution standards.
and you can trade across state lines, there's no problem?
The RINs are national.
National.
They're not state specific, which this is a federal program as opposed to a state program, but because of the added requirements on California for air quality emissions, you have a higher value with RINs there. It's like pollution credits or carbon credits. You know, they mean nothing in New York State, but in California, they actually trade them.
Okay.
So if you have credits, carbon credits in New York, you can trade them to people in California. Now, there are a lot of carbon credits that are out there, so that there's not a high price.
And that's based on the 100-ton.
That's based on the 100-ton.
Right.
So feasibly, there could be, as Mark said, anywhere from a low end of 7 million to a high end of maybe 12. Depending upon your production capacity, you could get a commitment upfront from one of these companies, and they'll give you the money upfront to have. Now they own all those RINs for the next 10 years.
Okay, and the 10 years is the normal,
10 years would probably be the largest horizon that they would actually go out, because they really don't know what's gonna happen in 5 or 6 years. But for a state like California, they can assume it's
The
not gonna
10-year.
it's not gonna get better for them, it's only gonna get worse.
Okay.
So if they're buying it at a price, they'll probably buy it at a price that they can benchmark and know that it'll never go below that number.
okay.
And what you have to understand too and look at is that if we just, for argument's sake, stay at 100 tons, if we sell them at a discounted rate the first 10 years, then we have another 15 years, because the plant is gonna operate for about 25, where we could sell them at a retail cost. So that, and we haven't even put that in there at this time. And if we go to 200 tons, say for 5 years down the road or 10 years, then these numbers then, basically, get upscaled, that type of thing. So we're looking at the minimum. We're staying with the 100 tons and assuming at this point, just for, staying conservative, that we stay at 100 tons through the life of the plant itself. But we really think that we'll probably get to 200, say 5 years down the road or even 10 years.
You get
Then
a
the
second
numbers
bite
will
at the
come.
apple at that point in time, because that you're selling the RINs on the first 100, and if you get the second 100, you can sell the RINs on that second 100, which will help subsidize the plant, but you'll also know what your production looks like, and you'll see what's happening in that market if it's gone up.
Okay.
I know as part of your funding sources, going back a few slides, was the NYSERDA.
Mhm.
And I know those are competitive grants. Is there a lot of competition in New York right now for those?
There's a fair amount of activity with anaerobic digestion. One of the first plants that was actually done in the state of New York, I was part of the team that financed that. It was a joint venture with Cornell at their dairy farm.
Okay.
And that had a different financing structure to it. But NYSERDA gave them a grant. There's a sidecar of money at NYSERDA specifically for anaerobic digestion. In addition to that, there's the $19 million that's out there that's competitive. But if you're not ready to go, you can't get
Right.
in the
Is it-
queue.
But I don't even know whether is any existing in New York now, or no?
There's a fair amount of it in sort of, I'm gonna call it cow country, because
country.
a lot of dairy farms use anaerobic digestion. So some of those plants are gonna be relatively small. That's done through a program with the US EPA called AgStar, which is you've heard of Energy Star?
Right.
They have AgStar for dairy farms, on how to more efficiently operate farms throughout
But that's a
different
specific
communities.
waste stream, it's not like,
It's similar to this. I mean, it goes into the similar system, and it creates methane gas. I mean, you're essentially dealing with cow manure. And if you think about a dairy farm, all the cows are lined up when they get fed, and they just have a conveyor belt to pick it up. It's not some guy running around the field picking up cow chips.
yeah, right.
So they know exactly what their stream is gonna look like, and then they feed it into the digester.
But they don't get water, they get butter, right? Only kidding.
You don't want that butter. That's not the butter you wanna put on your toast.
The man that just says, don't eat it.
I don't drink the water, and I wouldn't eat the butter. But
And just to understand, that extra $19 million basically is coming out of the state. That's Cuomo's initiative. Basically, we gotta go, 50% renewable energy by 2030. So that's why he's adding this $19 million now, besides anything coming out of NYSERDA. So this is a separate pot of money, and basically, we have to have that application in by the March 7th.
March
is the
7th, that's correct.
deadline.
Yep.
And that's going to take us at least a week or two to prepare, and we cannot prepare that unless we have, a real project. It's gotta be, it can't be a project that has not been approved, say, by the town. So it needs a project that's approved, and that we have an address, and we've also now filed for our permits. So so for us to get any of that cash, that's why we're, looking to speed up this process, if we're really looking to do it. So that's just something to keep in mind.
Anyway, I wanted to give you an overview of the RINs, and that's pretty much the presentation that I wanted to provide to you. And again, I wanted to emphasize, I've worked with Mark on the Connecticut project, putting together a financing package for that project, so I know this process fairly well. And I was involved with the first financing of a AD system that was in New York State, which is that dairy farm.
So the overall cost to, no grants, no anything else, the overall cost from start to finish without a land cost involved in this, that's the 20 to 22 million?
Yeah, approximately, I think that's, yeah, that would give you a turnkey plan.
Okay.
And that extra money, like I said before, is basically put in there for us to run the pipeline.
So that was the extra 2 million, that was,
Well, that was really, we were looking at probably around 18 at one time. That's where the extra, you know, we gotta get a little bit of a cushion there. So that's, we put that in. I talked to a few companies, basically, you know, they're around $1 million a mile to basically run the pipeline.
Yep.
So that's where we're at. I'm
I'm
thinking
surprised,
maybe
I'm
it's.
surprised National Grid wouldn't hop all over that.
Well, the point is, you know, I have to go with the company, basically, that have done these things before. I haven't sat down and we really haven't worked at National Grid. Of course, we'll do that if, you know, if this project's gonna move forward. But that would be the, you know, the high side of the cost. Again, we're trying to be conservative. That's why I added that extra money in there. Because I'm not too sure exactly how many miles we are from it. And I really like to run it down Osborne. I don't really wanna run it through streets of people's neighborhoods, you know, that type of thing. We wanna stay as clean as possible, because I know that there is a pipeline probably somewhere when we get down to around, 58.
Oh, definitely.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, yeah, there's gotta be,
You know,
Okay.
so that's what we're looking at this point.
Probably before that, actually.
So Nancy, your comment about National Grid, as much as they would want to do it, the very first reaction they'll have is like, well, you're building the pipeline, right? You're paying for it? And that'll be the starting point. And if you wait to negotiate with them to put in the pipeline, it'll take you 5 years. So it's not worth it for you to
But
do
your
that.
gas going into it, so that you make it up on that end.
You make it on the other end because they're gonna end up being the end buyer of it.
Right.
And you can actually finance your way through that pipeline as well.
I get it.
all right, do you guys have any questions at all? I know you guys went up to the plant and
No, no.
saw the plant, what did you,
That's right.
Basically, everything that they said, it's got negative pressure inside, you really don't smell it, unless they're working on it. And, I think the thing that we would have to identify would be, food stock sources around here.
And we have those. I was and I wasn't surprised, but I didn't think people would wanna jump on board this quickly. They're looking to cut their costs, cause it's costing them. I talked to one company that basically said to me, Mark, you know, I break even at $125 a ton. He goes, I can't do it, you know, if you have something less than that, you know, come and talk to me.
and what about as far as if you would go, they would sign a contract with you, what would be the length of these contracts to then?
You know,
deliver to the
I'm
plant?
basically, these carters don't really wanna go into a long contract. They'll give us the LOIs. That's something, I would like to see a 5-year contract with them, but they're always looking to save $1. If they can save 10 cents, they're gonna say, hey, you know, I could send it here for this or that. But right now, there is no other place to go. So on Long Island, we are basically going to be the first. We're gonna be in first. So we have we have a real good learning curve, and I don't see anyone else coming on board to build this type of a digester here.
Are there specific carters that do nothing, or at least
No,
part of their
but-
routine is to pick up?
They do have, in other words, each one of these carters I spoke to have routes for food waste. Whether that route is a grocery store or whatever, they do have commercial routes.
I never even knew that.
Yeah, and you'd be surprised. And what's happening up in Southington is something that we really need to look at, is that it's becoming, again, with these outdated, you know, basically
Yeah, well,
pallets
pallets
of cans, whatever, and we can take that in and do that. So it's not just only scraps of food waste, it is these cans of things, and that's something that Southington didn't anticipate, but now, us seeing them.
Such a
that's-
waste.
I'll tell you,
Well,
there's another,
I know it is such a waste.
Yep.
I
And
mean, we're making good of it, but the
Yeah.
fact that they.
There are programs out there, you know, that we could basically couple with if we're really looking environmentally wise to take some of that, things that are not that outdated, and, you know, and basically partner with someone that's with a food bank.
Food bank.
You know, there's some, at least part of it, in other words, so that we can, you know, give back to the community a little bit, and that's something I always look at. I always look at it environmentally. To me, this is a win, it is a win-win. We're taking, basically something out of the landfills, not on Long Island, but somewhere else, and we're making energy, so we're taking waste and making energy. And the town is getting a revenue, and we're getting a revenue for it. So that's, to me, it's just a win-win situation for us. And we have a nice site. I think that's a perfect site if you guys are looking to basically do this, energy park, that would just be part of it. And, you know, I would recommend that, we would, move forward with this. Again, if anyone I'm hoping to get back up to the plant, up in Southington. I think it's the 19th maybe would be the best.
18th.
Well, Laura is having
Oh.
problems with that, so I need something from John at the end of the day.
We'll figure it out by the end of the day. If you wanna go up and take a look, Jim, we can
Okay,
pick a
So
day.
only 4 or 5 trucks a day, that's all.
that's it. That's
That would be
it.
the maximum you said, right?
That's the max.
At the 100 ton.
It
At the
depends a
100
little
tons.
bit on the blend though, you know. You
Yeah,
get big
it does.
trucks, you get smaller number and.
I don't think it'll be intrusive for that.
How much it track for Crown, how much over there for
You're gonna
recycle,
say
how many do they have going?
Condition it's in.
Well, the day we were there, I saw 2 or 3 trucks, fly by.
Yeah, it's probably Crown
Maybe in a
trucks.
small
Yeah, they were ground trucks that went in. So I saw, we were there for about an hour and a half, there was like 2 or 3. So I think it's about the same amount that we would have,
I think Crown got you beat. You know, people bringing dumpsters in all day long.
yeah.
Now, how was the Southington plant, how was the community?
The community was fine with that, there was no feedback from them, from the community itself.
That property that's on is where? Is it in the middle of nowhere, or is it?
Well, there is a residential, like, retirement community, basically, not that far away. It's, it's not in the middle of a residential area, and neither what we have is, and I would never put something there because the community's not gonna go for it. And that's always.
I mean, I like the location, I think it's perfect for what the use is, to be honest with you, but is it gonna affect the yard waste, we have to relocate that?
No, we were hoping, I was talking with these guys, and we have enough room that we can accommodate, the yard waste itself. There's enough room there for us to do that. If you wanted to relocate it across the street, that's up to you, but I don't.
You could use the leaves, right?
Yeah, the leaves, we can use some of it, but the rest of it, again, if we don't, it's just, it just gets compost out, someone else will come and get it, pick it up, or whatever. Yeah, and you keep doing that. I don't wanna see a large compost area there where we are, so we'll work all of that out. I don't see that being a problem.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I shoot.
So this is the bottom line here, when we go to this one page with the cash flow here. So this is your anticipation, so after, you have year 1 through 11. So depending on the split between public and private, that would be what we can expect to, see anticipated cash flow at the end, and then whatever our percentage is in there would be the percentage of that split. So if we were to go in to finances, say even at a 50-50, at first year coming back close to 4 million, then the town would realize about $2 million worth of revenue from the project?
That's correct.
And that would be after the debt service.
Well, the 4 million is pre-debt service. I think that's 3.9 million would be, give or take,
We get 12.5%
after debt
of it.
service.
Okay, so 3.997, so close to 4, and that would be after debt service or before they had figured out there?
So the first line that you see, EBITDA, that's gonna be before debt service, then you have debt service, then you have net cash flow.
Right,
So that
okay.
net cash flow number is what would be split.
Mm-hmm.
So if we were successful in getting grants and we were successful in selling the RINs and we only needed to borrow money, it's a 50-50 split. If we've gotta bring in the private equity guys, they're gonna get their piece of that.
It'd be about
They're gonna want a preferred return of their money and a percentage of whatever the,
75%
Cash
for
flow
that,
would
so
be.
25%, so it'd be about $1 million.
right.
So basically, I really don't wanna go the traditional route. I don't think that, I think we will do all of the grants, that'll be us. We will, prepare all the grants, we will go after the grants, we will sell the RINs. That's part of what we do. That's ours. Really, you guys it's the soft cost, it's the 500,000, and the property. If you can help us, as a municipality, to help get the pipeline in, to do that, that's basically gonna be your participation. That's what we look at, we're looking at a 50-50 split. You asked me to see if we could do that, that's the way to do it. And, again, our goal is not to have any debt service. Our goal is to raise the money through all of these different possibilities and move forward. But in the end, if we had to borrow something from our guys in Portland, then at least we have that safety net. It's not like, well, let's do this, and then, we have 2 years to raise the money. Right now, with that letter of intent with them, we have the cash, we basically have the financing to complete the plan. It's just be a less equity for us.
And you got Southington, so you've proven that it works and that.
It's proven that it works, and they're expanding. Again, you know, there's no downsides for us at that point. The location for me, as an environmentalist, as someone that usually I'm on the other end of the table, I don't anticipate. I've spoken to some people out there, I've spoken to some environmental groups, and there doesn't seem to be any pushback from them.
Did you guys need a EIS for the facility in Southington?
Yes.
You did?
Yeah, and we needed one in Connecticut too. Yeah, we understand, Galley Engineering understands exactly what we need to permit. Yes, we're gonna need an EIS. And our EIS here, is going to be probably, out here is gonna be a little more detailed, but there was the same. Connecticut was very difficult in getting things permitted. They're a lot like us, you know, they're looking at an environmental, piece. And so, the only thing we didn't have to do was, to go to the justice route, that we didn't need. There's a certain piece that we didn't need to do in Connecticut. Other than that, it's pretty much typical of the permitting. And I have them all, we have them all, I'll give you copies of that so you'll know exactly. And what happens with the town's commitment on the $500,000 is that, again, 15% down basically, and then periodically, according to the Gantt chart, in other words, as we basically complete, then you will be anticipated. So that the rest of that money will be over the life of getting it permitted, which is about 18 months or 2 years.
As I say, it's about an 18-month process?
Yeah, on the safe side, it's a 2-year process.
Okay.
Everyone always hopes, but, the state really is very particular, and they should be, so that's gonna take time.
But you say you don't take residential?
No, it's only commercial waste. The city, we were going to get involved with the city with residential. It's just too difficult. Maybe in our town, we could probably do it down the road, but let's be successful
Right,
first.
right.
Let's show the community that this works, and then maybe
Always
we'll.
throwing out chopped meat and stuff that's expired,
Well,
You can drive it over,
I
how's that?
cook it, give it to my dog.
You're the best. You say, hey, I'm putting out my recyclables, and the guy next door is just throwing a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah, I know.
Right onto the street.
Trust me.
So, for us, again, let's be successful with it, and then maybe we'll start a program. Maybe we'll start that program through the environmental committee, and, we'll look at that. Catherine and I are, basically are starting that program, and maybe that's one of the things that the board gives us, hey, take a look at that. Because basically, we are an advisory board to you guys, so that maybe is a project that we'll look into.
So timeline-wise, let's just review the timeline here, so, because pushing up against the grants and stuff. So what is it, if we're to go forward with this, what are the timelines that we have to meet, because they seem pretty tight?
Or next week, I was hoping that you guys would, if you move forward, put the resolution up and vote. I have a contract that Bob, the town attorney, didn't want us to discuss it in private, that would have to go into executive session. So my feeling was, by the end of the month, by the end of February, we need the signing of the contract, and then the payment comes, and we start the process, and then we have that week, to basically almost a week and a half, to get that first big grant in for the state.
Application, right.
So that's basically our timeline. I know it's compressed, but, if we're going to move forward, I would, if that could be up to 25%, that's a lot of money we do not want to leave on the table.
So just as far as community concerns, in Connecticut, there were concerns about the smell and the traffic initially.
And this, not in Southington, all right, because we didn't do that. That's our sister plan that was done by Quantum. Initially with us in Connecticut, we were right on the Pennaquac River, up there. So that's where the rail yard was. So the first thing we did was go to the town. The town was very much on board, but they said to us, we got a really strict environmental community. I said, I don't think it's as strict as ours, so let's have a meeting. They brought in all of what they thought would be the naysayers. We sat down right from the beginning with them and made them part of the project. In other words, we didn't wait till the end of the project or something or whatever. We brought them in the beginning, we sat down. The only objection was to them, and it was lucky that we had that, was we do not want you to discharge anything into the river. And by law, we could have cleaned the water to the point where we could have discharged it into the river. That would have been, basically a non-starter for them. So once we brought them in, they were very much on board. And, so we were very happy to have them.
Yeah, I
They
can
were
imagine.
very happy to have that plan.
I can imagine anybody environmentalists being against.
Well, you know,
something.
there's our environmental groups, and I will be meeting with each one of them if we do move forward, to bring them into the process. I have a very good relationship with them, and the civics. Sid Bell and I have been, lives in Wading River.
Have you discussed any of this with any of the civics? Any feedback from anybody on this?
I haven't had any feedback. They know that this is out there. Again, I use Sid as my point man, say.
Sounding board.
Yeah, about 6 months ago, I discussed this with him, saying, hey, we're doing this in Connecticut. I think we're gonna come to Long Island and do this. And, you know, we just had a brief discussion at that time. But I will be meeting with the civics. These guys are very helpful. They will come in and do the same presentation in front of anyone. So, again, that's our job, to make sure that the community understands what we're doing and to be comfortable with the process.
I just hope it trickles down to, I mean, if we go forward, I just hope it, I mean, all this food waste that is generated from restaurants and from hospitals and schools and all that stuff, that, I know they pay the carter so much money because the carter has to take it wherever he's gotta take it. So now, hopefully with a plant like this, that those rates will go down. I hope that that's shared with the users. You know, the carter says, oh boy, I'm making more money, but who
Well, you know
knows?
what, Jim, that's,
Yeah.
Carters are the Carters, that's their business.
I'd like to see the trickle down so everybody benefits,
I
you know, so.
understand that. Hopefully they will. It's not something that we can force, to do
Yeah.
that, but these guys, they
start.
work hard. These carters,
Well, I'll
these
be
guys
free
know
next
how.
year, maybe I'll start a carting business and give a
Well,
better rate.
Then we'll give you, then you can do all of the food waste. But we just, those guys work hard, and they have always worked hard. My uncle was in the garbage business for many, many years. And it's not, they're out there at 5 o'clock in the morning, whether it's 2 degrees or 10 degrees, out there, picking up garbage and everything. And he always told me, he said, Mark, he goes, get in the garbage business. He goes, no matter what, there'll always be garbage. He goes, it's humans are humans, until we are out off the face of the earth, there'll always be garbage.
Yeah, yeah.
Garbage and funerals, right?
Well,
And the funeral home, exactly.
That's right, yeah.
taxes, as they say.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for the
Thank you.
presentation. I
No,
know
thank
that,
you.
I think that this is incredibly informative. I think we understand the tight timeline here. So I think this is a lot of information for everybody to go back, take a look at, and then weigh in on, and then,
Of course, any questions,
Mhm,
you
you're
contact me
available.
directly.
okay,
No,
very
you've been
good.
very thorough, you brought us up to speed over the last couple months.
Well, we've done this before,
Brought your staff with you today.
yeah,
Oh, yes.
so we understand, basically, you're getting our expertise, we learned from some mistakes, and we understand what needs to get done.
Okay,
All right,
Very
thank you
good.
very
Thank
much,
you.
guys.
Nice to see you.
Good, nice to meet you.
thank
to
you,
see you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Love your accent.
Thank you very much.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you.
Exactly.
Nice to see you
Okay,
again.
we'll work something out
Nice to meet
to
you.
get,
Nice meeting you, sir.
you guys,
Mark,
if
thank
you
you.
wanna take a ride up and him, but it's just that they're working on their plant right now, so we'll get on the phone today.
I'm just gonna
Okay.
grab my laptop real quick.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Nice to see you.
Good to see you too, brother. Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Catherine, always a pleasure. Just let me know.
Okay, we'll talk.
Committee.
Having a conference over there. We just need to continue on with the meeting, so.
I'm just gonna grab my laptop.
Okay,
I'll be back before you.
all right, so I will call the next thing up, and then I just wanna have a little discussion about this, if this is something we wanna continue to move forward with. Now we'll discuss the Calverton Sewer District upgrade.
Got a crowd in here.
I know. It is so hot. Right, my face is like, I'm like, feel like I'm turning red.
You are.
I am so hot in here.
Put you in the middle.
Don't put me in another.
Nobody wants to sit across from you.
I guess. Hi, Chris, how are you?
Hello, everybody.
Hi, how are you?
How are you, Judge?
I'm
Still
just
learning,
going to,
right?
Chris, I'm just gonna have you introduce yourself.
James.
So this is the Calverton Sewer District upgrade, and I think I will just turn it over to you guys to start the presentation.
My name's Chris Weiss from H2M Architects and Engineers out of Melville.
Wow, first time that, hi Chris, how are you?
Dick Ehlers, of course.
Yes.
Michael, you know.
Michael, you know.
So we'd like you to consider,
I'm gonna tell you, Larry's gonna tell you to
They're
talk
gonna
up.
say be louder.
I'm sorry.
I think there's a mic like right there.
I'm sorry,
just-
I'll try to talk up.
Yeah.
So we have a bond, public hearing resolution in your package, that we'd like you to consider for adoption at your next meeting. And, this involves the upgrade to the treatment facilities at the Calverton plant. Just to go back in history a ways, the Calverton plant was constructed and operated by the Grumman facility for many years. When the town took control of the Grumman property, the town got the sewage treatment plant. That sewage treatment plant is basically in the same condition with just maintenance issues since then that it was at the time that the Grumman Corporation operated it.
So that was built around what time? Quite a few years?
1950s.
1950s.
Easy.
Okay.
And so the technology is reflective of that period of time. And the treated effluent from that facility goes into McKay Lake, which is a headwater of the Peconic River. And so in all of the discussions with the DEC involving any of the aspects of the development of the Calverton facility, it's always been their concern and the town's concern that the effluent treatment be improved to current standards, and that the discharge be removed from the Peconic estuary to a groundwater discharge location north of the groundwater divide. So in the various subdivision applications and various thoughts about how to develop the property, there's always been reserved in the northeast corner, property for the sewage treatment recharge into the groundwater. And it would be treated to groundwater standards, so it would not degrade the groundwater. It would fit in fine there. And the town got grants, and they can detail those grants to you, which provide for the funding. We've gone through the Environmental Facilities Corporation. This is an application that they've approved. The facility plan that H2M's designed has been approved by the state as a state-of-the-art facility to treat the effluent from the plant. It's designed to be constructed in phases, so this would be the first phase of other phases that could be added as needed. You're going to
And that would be reflective of the development that's happening on the
reflective of the
property.
development. And
Okay.
the plant, again, I can defer to the engineers, but the plant has been a somewhat difficult plant to operate because the actual flows are not great, and sewage is more easily treated in quantity than in dribbles, so to speak. And so you don't want to build a giant facility that isn't needed because it's impossible to operate. So the phase construction gives you the financial flexibility to add modules as you need them, but also means that the treatment will be in accord with what's required for the facility.
And it's a requirement that to upgrade what we have from the DEC?
Yes, yeah, the whole objective of the grants was to move the discharge across the groundwater divide. So a lot of the grant money is connected to that.
You can't, the current facility cannot treat in any way effluent that could be discharged into groundwater. It's not possible.
Okay, I just,
And so, the amount of effluent that is, it's 14 to 20,000 gallons per day. This plant will be able to treat enough for the foreseeable development, and then you'd go into modules after that. So, and the grants really make it, it's sort of a sweet moment, if that's the right phrase for it, where the grants have come in at a time when you need to
Upgrade.
build this in order to meet the conditions of the potential sale. The boundary of the district has to be extended. in order to extend the boundary of the district, we have to show the DEC that we have treatment capacity to, in fact, treat effluent from the area to be extended to.
And it's the obligation of the town to provide that treatment to the sewer discharge. It's not, the property is being developed, but it's the town's responsibility to have some place to send that waste that meets the requirements of the DEC.
Right,
Correct.
the town has a special district, so it's not a town-wide obligation, it's a district obligation. The town has a sewer district, downtown area is served by the Riverhead Sewer District. This is a separate legal entity, which is the Calverton Sewer District, so it won't affect any of the taxpayers not within the boundary of that sewer district. Right now, it's just the core area, the traditional Berman sale property would be extended to the lots that are contemplated to be sold. That's the taxing jurisdiction that's at issue here.
So basically, it's the people that are using it,
User fee.
use it, you pay into the ability to develop it.
They have to pay to treat the effluent that is generated from their properties. And that is a very valuable thing. Long Island with the constraints, I didn't hear much of the previous presentation, but, you know, the constraints of the sole source aquifer and the Peconic Estuary program, you can't develop that site without this sewer plant. So it's a gift, really. So, answer any questions or?
Back in 2009, there was a public hearing held to spend a certain, to bond a certain amount of money for the project.
That was 2009.
That was 2009. Since that time, plans and specifications were done, and we've gone out to bid. The amount of money that was identified after the bids were received was higher than the amount that was authorized in the bond, so we need to hold a public hearing to bond the additional amount, to get authorization to bond the additional amount. That's really what the resolution's for.
Okay.
So the original amount was for how much? 7 point?
It was, around six point seven. Yeah, $6.7 million.
Okay.
What up, half again?
But that was
Around
done in
10.
2009.
That was in 2009, yeah.
50%.
Yeah. Right. It was based on whatever the rates were at that time, construction, materials, equipment, all those things, and they've increased over the past 10 years.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think at that time, we were only forecasting to 2014, nobody foresaw.
Taking a little longer to have somebody to use.
2019.
Well, I think this goes back to your point, Dick, is that the timing of it is that if it had been done before without having sold the property or out having users for the upgrade, that it wasn't beneficial at that time because there would be not enough people, using the district itself to have it run effectively.
Right.
So that's, you know, where the timing
And
comes
of course, I know part of this is to get this north of the divide, right, which is really important for the Peconic Estuary down there. I'm sure that,
That was one of the recommendations
oh,
of the
yeah, it's gonna be wonderful.
Estuary Program's comprehensive management plan.
Yeah, that's good.
All the wastewater is going north as the property gets
What's all of the bidding on, oh, I'm sorry.
Are there other grant opportunities out there now to apply just to add for additional for this?
There's always more, you know, we have a good selection of grants and we can't add to them.
Mhm.
So that kind of puts us out of the chasing that money that we've already gotten.
Right.
You know, every day there seem to be some more opportunities open up, you know, we'll see if we can find some more. There is money going in for infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, the water districts are kind of,
Taking precedence?
yeah,
I know.
yeah. We're fighting against them. Sewer got a lot of money in the
Well,
last few
it
years.
seems hand in hand to me.
It does,
Yeah.
but we've noticed too that, you know, money goes to water, then money goes to sewer, and then money goes to water. And sewer got a lot of money the last few years, and with the new constituents that are showing up in water, that's where most of the money seems to be funneling,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of pushes us out of the funding picture for any big dollars, but doesn't mean you can't keep chasing it.
It's an EFC application, so construction will be paid through EFC reimbursements.
Drawdowns?
And drawdowns, and only after final completion would you owe your first bond payment, and due to the rules of bond payments and how they're calculated, it could well be 4 years before you actually owe a payment, and you do have a fund balance in this district, which hopefully you will maintain, adding to that fund balance to soften the initial payment schedule, so that as construction comes online to build assessed value and the 4 years go
Connection
by
fees and all
before
that.
any first payment is owed, and you
Right.
have
Right.
3 or 4 years of cushion. So if somebody has built facilities 8 or 9 years from now, that would absorb the difference, which is about the time that they need the capacity that you're planning for today. So that's why I said it's kind of a.
Good time
all
for it
fits
to
together.
fit together.
Oh, you painted such a nice picture.
I live in a rose-colored world.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's just my world.
This is Murphy's Law here, though.
All right, any other
can hope
questions
that.
from anybody?
No,
No?
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you for the
all right, thank you very
presentation.
much, thank you.
gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you.
You too.
Next we will call up the chief for the monthly public safety report.
Ceiling fans.
Hey, John,
It's
can
hot
you just
here.
see if they can turn the heat down a little bit?
Usually not hot here.
It's cranking in here.
Good
Even
morning.
the chief's taking off his jacket.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay.
Still morning.
Welcome back. Thank you, thank you. You're right.
Did you send this over, or you?
I did, there was one correction on it, which was a positive correction.
No. You did that one this way?
Summons is up to 1047, so on the one you received was 990, it's up to 1047. We received some data late, so. Besides that, things look pretty status quo.
I know we had talked about for the motor vehicle accidents, are we seeing any trending on where they're happening?
We haven't mapped it out yet, but
Okay.
we have that ability now to do that, so.
Okay.
Good.
And then this way we could just turn it over to traffic safety and see if there's any issues that we need to address.
We need to start locking up more females.
There was, what else do we wanna get to? Larcenies, we had a, nice arrest out in the Wading River area, we had a, lot of larcenies from vehicles going on. So we were actually, the COPE unit was actually able to go out, locate the person and make the arrest, so.
I know I had just seen a couple thing where people were saying, you know, is it something that they would get notified, like if there was a trend in the area, is there a way for us to notify people that's going on, and, you know, in case somebody's not locking up their car, or to be more aware of it, so how, is there any way that we should address that?
We have done that in the past, it didn't reach to that point, I think
Okay.
we nipped it in the bud in a couple of days, so that
Okay.
was good.
It is done through neighborhood watches if
Neighborhood
it gets
watch,
to be
right.
to a point where.
We also have the reverse 911 through Frez.
Okay,
And we've used that in, you know, storm emergencies, stuff like that, we put out messages to local areas. We've also used it in the past for, I think, we had crash burglaries out in the Wading River, where we put that out too,
Okay.
so.
We actually had
We do
4
do-
homicides in January? I must have missed it, I guess.
You give me a hard time a lot.
Oh, it's what it says 4.
is that the
Where
number?
are you?
On page,
Page,
criminal incident, B,
under
first
B.
page B.
yeah, on B
We
section.
did not have 4 homicides.
So it might be reversed with identity theft, maybe.
Yeah, that's not good.
You know, I was gonna say,
That would be 0.
I don't read local often, but I'm sure I would've picked up on that. Only kidding.
Oh, that's a
I'll
mistake.
check if it was, you're probably right, it's probably identity theft, but I'll check.
Sorry.
0 homicide.
Thank you. I got scared for a minute.
The other thing was the OD report, which was good for January. You had, no fatal overdoses, and only 2 times that we've administered Narcan. So 2 incidents where,
All right, which chart,
this one here, towards the end, I think it's 3 pages from the end. That's it.
okay, yep.
Yeah.
I've also asked, I wanted to give you an updated report from the ambulance, but they only do theirs quarterly.
Okay,
So he's gonna look at changing that to coincide with ours, and maybe even combining it into one report.
okay, that'll be good. And then for this one, will we keep it as a monthly total also?
Monthly, yes.
Okay.
So you wanna see it as it goes throughout the year.
Like a per
Right.
month, and then just, you know, just the raw numbers on the bottom, you know, you don't have to have all this other,
I think the ambulance one does that.
okay.
So
Yeah, I think it
we'll
might
look to
fit in
combine
nicely
it.
with that one.
And the last two pages were the parking tickets,
Mm-hmm,
since 2014. I also sent, emailed you guys a, website, a link to a handheld ticket.
what were the costs on those, like
They're
four,
about 2,000 apiece.
and how many, and do you need a base for that, or it's just,
Yeah, so the problem with that I see, I don't think the handheld is that expensive. It's the cloud, it's the software, it's
Oh, okay.
everything behind it, the storage, so
okay.
I think that's where it's gonna get to be pricey.
Who did you get that from, do you know? the
I think you
company?
looked at that one too, it was United Public Safety, I
that
think it
red, white,
is.
and blue.
UPS,
I think it's the
right, or
original.
something like that. Also, our vendor, our FPS, our
Right,
ticket vendor,
right.
also has a handheld.
Do you wanna evaluate, have they given you them to evaluate, so
I
someone
s-
could take them out as a,
It's
just,
been a while since I've seen the one from FBS, I can do that again.
do you wanna just see if they'll give you, you know, the
Right.
ability to use them, pilot them for, you know, a month or so, and then you can come back and see which ones you,
Some of the companies
Right.
also offered where you don't pay for it at all, but they get a percentage
Percentage.
of what you write ticket-wise. Just another thought.
Now, these numbers that you came up with for the violation and the amount that we're collecting in fines, they got that through the court, I guess?
That all came
Does
through
that-
FBS. FBS.
which page are you looking at, Jim, the
The
last
last
page?
one.
Last page.
But
because-
this is over how many years, is that one,
2014
so that's from 2014 till now?
to now,
If
right.
you look at the page
Right,
before that?
and they get, well, yeah, but that's not money that we got,
Yes.
that's money that collected, that some of it goes to the services, some of it goes to the state and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is on that. On the town code violation, I thought we get 100% though. I don't know what we have to pay.
Not if it
There's
goes
no
to
state
collections.
surcharge on the
Right.
town
Hey,
code.
Bill,
Not
would
if it
you
goes
just
through
come up for a
collections.
second, please?
Goes through collections, they get a portion, I think like 20%.
Bill will know that.
You wouldn't know it, he'll make it up.
Bill, when they go to court and fines are paid on different tickets, as far as, justice fees that we send, what is it that we send, and do you have any idea what the percentage is for that?
A different type of ticket has a different type of percentage. So the state says, we want this, this, and this, and you get a percentage based on the tickets. I don't know if there's a schedule.
What about the town summonses?
Yeah, I think we get 100% on that.
Yeah,
It's our
this,
summons, I think we get it all, I don't think anything goes
We
through
do if
the
it's a town
state.
violation, but if you're writing a,
State code on that?
handicap, you're writing a state code
Right.
on a town summons, the state still gets their hand in, I think it's $35 a shot or something.
So,
There might be a
parking,
There's
surcharge
codes.
on the handicap, you're right, as far as a
Yeah.
set fee that every
Handicap
handicap
and other
ticket
state,
goes to the state.
there's a report that, Justice Court prepares or can get to that has certain codes, and codes, a certain code defines a certain ticket, and then it says what percentage we get versus the state, or whatever it may be. So we may be able to ask Justice Court to run that report, so we know
Which
which
ones?
tickets we're getting, what
yeah, 'cause the
percentage.
state's gonna have their hand out no matter what you do.
So,
Especially
They're
on
not gonna let
the
the town,
seatbelt tickets.
the town get away
So,
with certain.
I'm just, in 2014, for the tickets for the year, we had 234,000. And then 2017, we had 180, and then 2018, we dropped down to 137.
Right.
So, any?
happened?
Yeah, what happened?
I would say 2018 I could probably comment on, I think that was due to the rewrite of the ticket,
Tickets.
the town code ticket.
Not having them
Right.
available.
We
But then
reduced-
even-
we
so-
reduced the fines.
But
first of
even then, in 14, even in January, we had 17, we're down, this year, down to 10.
Right.
Huh?
So if you look at January 2014, you're at 17,500.
Right.
Now you're at 10,800.
Right, so, yeah, I mean, I know in 18 there was an issue with the tickets, so we were down around
Right.
9.7,
Which makes sense.
but we're still pretty low
Well,
compared to some of
I
the
would
other
take
years.
14 out of there, that seems like a bad year, that might be, I'd go 15 through 19 seems pretty comparative.
Why does 14 sound like a
I
bad
don't know, I
year?
think.
Looks like a good,
Wrote a lot of
They
tickets.
probably threw two different numbers together, I think, those can't be correct.
It's such a difference.
but even at 15, right? 15,
15's
17,
at 10, it's the same, right?
15, 17, you know, we have years 16 and 18 seem to be about the same, and then in the other years, I'm just wondering what's the difference between, because has people's behavior changed,
Could've been the
or-
blue flu, you never know. Happens.
Well, you have to, there was a point in time when it
Give me
was,
a contract, you get nothing out of it.
they didn't want tickets issued downtown for parking. We didn't wanna turn away business, so we did go through that phase, so.
But that was before, that was what, 16, you think? Cause then 17 picked up again.
I don't remember.
All right, so just take a look at the numbers, maybe try and get
Yeah.
some consistency with the numbers.
Tickets are up 100% this month from last year. 100%.
All right, very good.
So,
I think, it goes to quality of life, I think.
Yeah,
that
no, for
that's-
sure.
It's, if you don't pay attention to the little details, I think sometimes things can get overwhelming.
broken windows. for sure.
Yep. All right, thank you very much. I think,
Okay.
anybody have any other questions?
We
I
d-
appreciate you coming in.
No problem. You know about the award that we got last month, or this?
Yeah, oh,
this
I'm sorry,
month?
yeah,
but you
go ahead,
should talk
go ahead,
Yeah,
you
so
should
it
talk about it.
was, CACA, which is the Community Anti-Drug Coalitions of America, gave us a national award. And when I say us, I wanna say the Riverhead Community Coalition.
Mm-hmm.
So we were, recognized for intermediate outcomes against prescription drug abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So we've collected over 6,000 pounds of prescription drugs that shouldn't be in the system, so they've all been dumped either at our headquarters. The hospital now has a collection site, and then also we make the stops. We do the stop day, and then we make stops around town
And you just
too,
did a
so.
drug destroy yesterday, is that correct?
I think so, right,
Yeah, you
Richie?
did.
Ricky?
So how does that work? If somebody has prescription medication, we obviously,
Bill,
do not flush it down your toilet.
Do not flush it down the toilet,
You know,
bring it down to headquarters, you can
and-
do that 24/7. The front lobby
Yeah, they got
has like a
Dropbox.
mailbox there, so you can put it there.
And can you take narcotics there also,
You
or
can
is it
take
just,
everything except needles, we don't
Okay.
accept needles, so I think the hospital accepts needles.
and there's very few places that will accept the narcotics. So,
You have to be, right, an official drug drop box
Okay.
to do that.
so somebody can just come into the police department and just,
24/7, 3
Yeah.
o'clock in the morning, come down and drop off your medication.
And the other
Okay.
drop-offs are at certain dates,
So we do,
correct?
right, along with our stop day, we'll be up there collecting, and then we do sometimes, we take it on the road. So we'll go to some of the senior,
I bet you get a lot of use out of that, because people, believe it or not, come to the funeral home and their elderly
Right.
parent passed away, and want
Yeah, I
to take out a
thought
closet full
right.
of and I tell them, go down to the PD. Just-
I also thought about partnering with the shred day. And
Yes.
doing it at the same time.
Yeah, we're gonna do it
so-
on Earth Day.
Right,
oh, that might be good.
yeah,
All right, very good. Anything else you would wanna share with us?
I think that's it. I was
Good
gonna
job.
share this, but, you gave me that news already, so.
Which one is that? Oh, yes.
Well, good job with everybody
Is
on
there
the
something
award.
little private going on there?
Our
No,
ca-
not
our-
at all.
You wanna be
And I
very
signed off on
transparent
the
there.
grant,
What's-
there was a grant from 2017 that I guess you had bought some, it was tasers
Oh,
and
yes,
rifles and
the,
stuff. That was, I think,
police protective equipment.
yeah,
Good, thank
so
you.
that's just a reimbursable?
Yes,
Okay, very
we
good.
had, we had to spend it and.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, very good, thank you
Okay.
very much.
Thank you.
And now we will move on to,
do that raise.
this is Ray Coyne from the Recreation Department for several items.
I don't see right,
Who's here?
Who was just here?
who's calling me,
John's gonna-
engineering.
All right, well, we wait for Ray, let's just go back to the waste to energy plant presentation. What are your thoughts on this? Is this something that we want to move forward on? Obviously, it's a tight timeline, is there more information you would like to have presented to us? Do you want Bill to present something off to us about that? I mean, I think it's a,
I think in theory and in concept and what they present today, it seems like really a no-brainer to me. I think it's a good thing to do. I'm glad that they picked that location and not some other location. I think that's a perfect fit for up there with the recycling center right next door. The only thing is the unknowns, I mean, you just don't know where it's gonna go 10 years from now, but you can't let that cloud my decision at this point. I think it's a good idea to,
And I think he said the life of the plant was 25 years.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it's not only gets the waste out, it provides the energy, you know, that we need. I think that, for National Grid right now, there is a struggle about getting, gas out here. And, you know, to be able to offset some of that when using waste, I think is, you know, a win for us and win for the community. And then if we also relieve some of the burden on the taxpayers by doing, you know, some of these public-private partnerships, which we've talked about, to be able to do that where there's not a tremendous outlay from the community.
how is it gonna be, I don't know, but, I mean, I agree with you, I don't care about National Grid's cost, but I like the fact that
Well,
it's green, I like the fact that eventually, I think we'll have it designated where residential can have a separate bin for that, so we could at least feed stock it ourselves, but I don't know how the long-term benefits for the public would be.
Well, no, for National Grid, what I mean, there is a, right now, there's not as much gas as there is
I
for
know
the.
having a problem with pressure and stuff out here, yeah, I got it, yeah.
So that, you know, just to offset some of that for our community, for ourselves, we'd be more, you know, have some control over what we have here, so I think that, you know, is just an added plus.
Oh, I think so.
Oh, and as he's saying, the grocery stores currently have to ship upstate, I think.
Yep.
When it was originally presented to us, it wasn't so much presented as a public-private partnership. It was more of a, you build it, this is what you can make, and I wasn't as interested in it then as I am now with it being a public-private, partnership, because I think it's less risky for us as a town. And, yet we can still receive
Benefit.
some money and the benefits of disposing of the food waste. I'm sure as Americans, we probably waste more food in this country than.
Oh, I can't, what's all those
Probably
pallets
anywhere
of
else in
food
the
lined up
world,
there, it's like
but-
disgusting. Why are they producing food
Well,
that
they're
they
from
can't?
they get them from grocery stores when
Yeah,
the
but there's
dates are
somebody out there
passed.
packing,
I know.
and there's nobody to eat it, and then you got people starving, I don't,
Right,
that's so
that's
stupid.
what's difficult about it, when you see pallets of stuff that's outdated, that's probably still perfectly fine to eat, you know, and it just gets wasted, but at least there's good out of it, rather than
Right.
just dumping it in the ground
Get
somewhere and
energy out
calling
of
it a day, right?
Yeah, right, yeah. Make
So-
potato soup.
So because this is,
I think it's a good program, and, but we are pressed on time.
we are pressed on time, so I'm just, is there more are you at a comfort level to make a decision on this, or do you want more information from in-house to be able to have a comfort factor and
Well, right now,
say
the
we
only
wanna move
commitment
forward
the town's
with this?
giving them is the land and 79,000, and a commitment
Well-
for $500,000 over 2 years, right?
Correct. But I think, do you want that laid out a little bit more concrete, so we know,
Well, we have to look at where we're gonna get those sources, but I think a lot of it's gonna come through, maybe, I think there's a lot of money in the recycling thing that we have already, we've got some money there.
Well,
At
the
least
res-
the 79 grand of it.
Yeah.
You know?
so would you like more information, or should we just start moving forward with it?
I'm pretty comfortable with it, I've met with Mark twice, and, then again, today's presentation, and I've also done a little research on my own. I would like to see it laid out, so we know exactly, but I would like to move forward with this if.
Yeah,
if
let's
we
give them some,
possibly
right, they
could.
gotta get these apps in, it's important.
Okay, so
'Cause
that's,
I mean, if they don't get the NYSERDA grants and all the things they're going for, they might
Right.
have a change of heart as
And
well.
I
It can
met
make a
with-
big
I
difference.
met with
It can
Mark,
make a
and
huge difference.
And it was helpful to visit the plant.
Yeah.
I visited the plant.
all right, so we will proceed, accordingly.
Come on up, Ray.
About time.
Good timing.
How many comments? I'm gonna get May after you again, keep messing around.
What do you want me to do first? What do you got up first?
Why don't we
Ramp.
start with, concession bid?
Oh, concession, I'm sorry, concession.
Okay, here, take one of these, move it around. I just put, I'm working with Anne Marie now and Laura Calamita, so I just wanted to give you a heads up what we're looking at.
So this concession bid is for, what does it mean, the concession
So
bid?
basically, what we do every year is we bid out our concessions for mobile units, for concession stands, anybody to come in, an independent contractor to come in and serve the public, and we do this every year.
What's a mobile unit?
Hot dog truck.
Yeah, ice cream truck, things
Okay.
like that.
Gotcha.
So what I did here, because we're gonna ask to do a porta potty bid too, I just added that in the color code too, where we wanted to add the porta potties. We wanna do a porta potty bid as well, because we just have too many issues during the year with one vendor,
We have a
with the
color code,
procurement policy.
but no, I don't know what the colors are supposed to mean.
Well, it just means, all right, for instance.
Yellow is porta potties?
Well, yeah,
Oh, yeah,
the
okay.
locations.
Okay, okay.
So, I know, I just did this quick.
Okay.
So for instance, a concession stand is the first one. Veterans Park and South Jamesport Beach, have concession stands. Now, the ones at Veteran Park is very small, it's just it's almost just like a storage building. But if somebody wants to bid that out, they can. South Jamesport Beach has the most potential. That has all the amenities that would be a great, like a Mashut Beach, that's what we're trying to get to down there. So what I was gonna ask the board is, if we can bid South Jamesport Beach out, the concession stands, maybe on a long-term lease, and then, have the person, the company that bids it out, renovate the building.
I was gonna say, it's not up to the health department standards, the cooking.
Well, yeah, it needs the fan, it needs the
Right.
sinks, it needs a
So
lot.
you can't cook in there currently.
No, you can
It's
only
just-
do, packaged items, and bottled items.
So, okay.
So I'd love to do something different, to
Oh, I'd love
serve,
to get a hamburger there.
to serve hamburgers, to serve chicken sandwiches, even down the road, alcohol for the East Creek side. So I wanted to know if that's something the board would be willing to do, if we can, offer a long-term lease to somebody that goes in there and renovates it.
So, just my question, for health department, was there a reason that we didn't set that up like that in the first place? Would the health department permit that at that location?
No, we would have to do a lot of upgrades to the facility to get a permit. Believe me, we tried, it's just too much money, to upgrade that facility.
So, for the long-term lease, the person leasing it would do the upgrading,
Yes.
they would basically take a spot, and then we'd be leasing them a plot of land, and they would build something there?
No, they could just update, the building was
No,
used
lease
many, many years ago as a true concession stand.
Right,
It's got,
when Larry
it's
owned
got, yeah, it's got the
Or
fan up
renovation.
there, it's got the amenities, just it needs to be upgraded. So we
It needs
would,
fire suppression, it needs a new hood, it probably needs about, probably $100,000 worth of renovations in there to make it, I bet.
that is
But
higher
a
than
long-term
that.
lease would be, something you come in and, we'll give you a 5-year lease, you do the necessary.
You do the renovations, and then you can use it as, your own little mini restaurant, and it'd be great for the people down there,
And elected
especially the
officials
East
get
Creek.
50% off
The-
their food.
The other thing is, currently we don't allow alcohol at our parks,
We do not.
so that would be a change of
Yeah,
philosophy.
if the board's willing to do it, I mean, I know, like, Brookhaven at the beaches, they have a bar there. Mashut Beach is one we
Mashut
always
Beach
try
is
to
good.
model against,
They
you
have a
know.
restaurant.
It's a restaurant there. If you, you go down to South Jamesport Beach on a summer night with the sun falling, all the people there, it's a great atmosphere. And so to do something there that would, people could, have a few
Car show,
drinks,
music.
yeah, have
Oh, be a home
chicken
run.
sandwich,
Have some live music and.
yeah, yeah. It'd
Do,
be-
do you think that if, what are we now, in end of February, this is something practical for this summer to be completed? If we went out to bid for a long-term lease, they came in, would have to build something, get up to health code, do you think that's practical for this summer? Or are we looking at something like this for the following year, if the board approves it?
If the board approves it, and I just wanna go put it out there and see what kind of bites we get. I think they can get it updated enough where they can at least do some things, through the Department of Health. There's different permits that you can get, you can also get weekend permits, so if they wanna start on a weekend permit type thing.
They have to get a state liquor license also?
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if we'd be able to pull off the alcohol this year, but it's just like a long-term plan. So we start this year, see who bites on it. We've had companies come up and ask us, even Pepsi, somebody from Pepsi wanted to do something like that.
What did
but
Pepsi,
again,
what did they wanna do there?
They said they wanna do a big concession stand there. It's a rep from Pepsi, it's not the Pepsi company itself. And he would like to just do the renovation and everything like that. I'm not sure he knows how much it's gonna cost, but at least if we offer it and see what they come up with.
So this is my thought. I think just to do a little bit of research, see if something like this, if the board is in favor of it. I would think that it would be a pretty heavy lift to get this all accomplished and bid out and construction and up and running for this year.
Well, the bones are there. I think somebody could come in a matter of a few, 6 to 8 weeks and get
But
physical
but is-
building in shape.
I understand, but is somebody going to do that and want to put some money in it if they don't have a 5-year lease
Well,
on
no, they
it
don't want-
without doing
They want
all.
a commitment that,
Oh, yeah, they
so-
would need a commit. I would like to put it out there and see who bites
this is
it.
mine for
If,
10 years, you know,
we
whatever,
can
5 years,
always
whatever.
continue to run it from the recreation
Right,
point
and
for the
that's-
summer, if, as the, you know, until we get somebody in there, but if we put it out there now, maybe we can say it's for 2020.
Well, that's my,
At least get the
yeah.
ball rolling now.
That's my point. Should we bid it out starting for 2020? I know we had talked about this before. I don't know whatever came of it, but about doing, trucks. And this way it would allow somebody to go in, do the renovations all through the year, go through their permitting process, have access to the building, and you could do truck in the short term, and I think,
Yeah, that's what the mobile units are, all in red, that they would bid, say, I can bring a truck there, I can bring an ice cream truck, I can bring a roach coach there.
so then.
What do they call, I'm sorry,
Don't call it that.
we used to call that in my old company, roach coach.
So like, say for Jamesport, you'd bid out for the concession and a mobile unit, or, because then are you gonna be do you wanna pick one or the other for this year? I know at Veterans Park, we had also talked about it for the summer, for last time, about getting trucks there, because there is no facilities really in that little building there.
Yeah.
And would people prefer to have the truck? So I think, you know, now's the time where we decide what to do for this upcoming year. I think trucks are very, very popular. I think you could do that with somebody, if somebody had a truck that maybe wanted to, you know, they might wanna test the waters to see if they would convert over the following year.
Yeah,
We could show
that-
good numbers.
That's another
what
thing
it is,
too, you
if we're
want
gonna
them
bid it
to
out.
see what they're gonna get
Yes.
first, because, you know, that beach is very busy on the weekends, but during the week it's not as busy, so if you're gonna put all that money into a unit, are you gonna get return on your investment, so yeah, that's another reason I wanted to get it out there, to see if they can go down there, if they bid the mobile unit, then maybe they would be interested in doing the concession stand.
So my question is then, do you guys want to bid for concession stands, or do maybe mobile trucks for this year, and then Ray, you come up with a plan for bidding that out for an actual, to lease it out as the concession for a long-term lease for these projects?
I think to expect it to be done for this year is very
Tight.
aggressive, it's just not gonna happen. It's a lot involved for it to happen. I agree with going for look at 2020 for it. As far as the mobile units, something we might have to look in code revision, because we currently
Right.
don't allow them.
I know, and I think that's a
Although we
mistake.
kinda have, but just something, if we're gonna get into doing something like that, I
well,
think
we
we
don't,
need
I think
to-
the code says it doesn't allow hot dog trucks per se to have a spot on the side of the roadway. But I
I
think.
think they're
doesn't
allowed
Ice
in
cream
parks.
trucks are
I
allowed
think
through
some-
vending
15
licenses.
minutes.
What's that?
Doesn't allow them to stop more than 15 minutes in one location.
Well, these mobile units don't normally park there all day, do they?
No, they would
Yeah,
come
but
in
if
and
you're
out, but
looking to replace a concession stand, you don't want an ice cream truck just to drive through once or twice a day. You're looking to have, you know, maybe a taco truck or a burger truck or somebody sit
Yeah,
there,
yeah, those we don't have, yeah.
you know, so
Contracted-
you got, especially on the weekends.
For contracted hours, the truck would be for contracted hours to provide between whatever, 12 and 5, or whatever, cause I know you schedule events there, and
Most of
then
these
a
are
certain
ice
number.
cream trucks, don't they?
yeah, mobile units,
I would think the beaches with swimming lessons
Unfortunately,
do
most of them
well.
are ice cream.
They do, they do,
Do
and
they?
there are
Hot
some
dog
times
They
it's
would
great.
do well, yeah, cause the beaches are crowded during swimming time, swimming lessons. I thought in code, somehow they were allowed in parks. Didn't we talk about this, that they're allowed
We
in parks
we
and
talked about it
beaches?
last time, and there was supposed to
Right.
be a review of whether they can bring the trucks there or not, and it's kind of the discussion that we had last time, so I don't know, Ray, if you wanna review that again, just to see if something needs to change to be able to accommodate what it is that you think would be needed, to provide the services at these parks.
And I could take this back to code revision.
Okay, so maybe you guys can work together on figuring
We
that out.
talked about it once.
Okay, so you want me to do what again, I'm sorry?
You have it mapped out right here, you have your mobile units, the only thing we're crossing out is the concession stands, with the possibility of changing those over to mobile units, but mobile units with some defined hours, at those 2 locations, and then to, put together, which I think you could work with your staff, to figure out what it is that you would want as concession stands as a long-term lease. I think you have a couple models that you're looking at with Machette Beach and stuff, reach out to them, see what they do, how they contract it out, and see if that's something that will work with us here in Riverhead.
For the time being though, I can move forward the bid for the mobile unit and vending machines. Vending machine's something that we've been asked to put out there, but I wanna put that in there, that if you put a vending machine out at Statsky Park or Unity Park, there's a chance it could get vandalized, so. But other than that, other municipalities do it, and I'd like to throw that on there, especially the community center, I'd like a new set of vending machines.
But the vending machines would be one contract for all of these machines, correct? This would not be individual contracts for individual, we're putting out a vending machine contract for all of our buildings, correct?
We could do that. This particular thing was all one big concession bid, and you can bid on each park separately. But if you want me to separate that, I can. I could do the mobile units.
I think you should, the mobile units, the vending machine, and the porta potties should be three separate.
Well, porta potties definitely, yeah.
Right, but
we
I
can do
think
that separate.
vending machines and mobile units should be different also.
And these
Okay.
are the places you wanna put porta potties,
These are the ones we put in the past. Now, Veterans Park, we
Well,
put.
you don't leave two at Horton Avenue year-round.
No, but we do need
For
two
events.
in August, yeah. This is the year, so we do 7 at Veterans Park, 2 at Statsky Park, 2 at Horton Avenue, and then South Jamesport Boat Ramp. So it's not a tremendous amount, but it's over $1,000. And it'd just be easier to bid to one company, so.
Yeah, right.
Hey, guys, listen, I need something there today. 'Cause a lot of times we get last-minute requests for porta potties.
And just over at Veterans Park, I know you have the actual individual porta potties, is there any way to make them sort of upgrade from the green units if
Oh,
you're
you want the
doing
fancy
five?
ones?
Yeah, if you're doing 5, because you do have that concreted area there, you know, I mean, is there any way to have something that may be a little bit more,
Nicer,
Less-
because we have a lot of people visiting.
Well, put that in the bid, just say this is, what we're looking at, and we can look at who bids and who's the best, I guess, units that we can choose from.
okay.
Well, I definitely like the idea of moving forward, that we can have events like they do at Michoud eventually.
Yeah,
I-
that's the
yeah,
perfect place for
I'd
them.
like
People
to
love
move
it there.
forward that with an RFI
I
or
think we have great
RFP or
beaches for
something,
it, yeah.
just to find out if there's any interest in what that would be. Cause I tell you, if I had the money, I'd do it in a heartbeat.
But we need to know what it is, the land that we'll dedicate it to it, what the agreement would be between the two, and all of
Right.
that.
We'd have to dust off what was done years ago when Larry ran that.
And then you also have resident parking, non-resident parking, how do you let people in, how do you not let, are they having to pay, a day beach pass to come in, and, so there is a lot of
Well, I
issues
go to
involved in it.
Michoud once in a while, and you can't get in without a green key. I mean, you need to,
Right,
you
well,
need
you
a
need
county
that
green
at
key.
all
so-
times.
Right.
But like at Cupsog, if you go after
Green
5
key.
o'clock or 6
Right,
o'clock,
they're not checking.
Right.
they don't check parking passes anymore, so you park for free.
I think you still need a green key though.
No, not after
at
5
all.
o'clock.
At the county park, you know?
Right.
Yeah, once they close at 5 or 6 o'clock, there's nobody in the booths to man them, and you can just go in and park.
And that figures into somebody's bid completely.
Right.
Because that's,
That's a lot of fun there, and by the way, usually most of the people on Wednesday night are from Riverhead.
From Riverhead, I was just gonna say, you see
I've
half of
seen you
Riverhead
there.
over there.
Well, I know you got Thursday night at Michoud Beach, you got the car show, and you've got the band, and the restaurant is
Right.
crazy. I mean, they have some great food there.
They get good bands.
We could
Oh,
beat
people
them
just
up.
sit around
We have a
and-
better
It's a
layout.
nice evening out on the
It
water.
is, and I'm telling you,
It's the
a lot
same
of
bay that we're
times,
sitting on.
a lot of Riverhead people go. They would like it if we had it at one of our beaches.
Great.
Car show's
Okay,
looking
all right,
like
so
a place.
we'll get this going.
okay, so you do these 3
May
bids
1st,
out,
check
and
it out.
then, all right, next we have Celtic Quest contract.
Yeah, that's basically it's the same thing every year, it's just the amount that you wanna charge. They come in the month of May, and they come in daily out of South Jamesport.
It's a
We've
30-day
gotten a lot of
30-day
positive
contract?
feedback on them. Yeah, it's a 30-day contract, it's a. So we've charged them $1,500 in the past. I broke that down based off the town of Brookhaven, what they charged them for the year, and I broke it down by month, and that's where I got the number from. So I wanted to get this underway, same contract that we've been doing for years, so just want the permission.
All right, any problem with this?
No.
No, I'm fine with this.
Okay.
Hotel motel passes?
Yeah, I'm gonna send this out. A fire department and veterans, you had asked for me to break that down for you. This is a hotel motel pass, it's transferable. What our code allows is for us to sell these to these bed and breakfast, to the hotels, on how many units that they have. So if they have 3 dwellings, we're allowed to sell them to 3, so then the guests can come in and use our facilities. We charge them currently $75, but that's been something we've charged for a long, long time. The recommendation from my staff was to move it to $100. and then to start soliciting all the new units that went up, all the whole new hotels to get some revenue out
So
of it.
they pay 100 and then they get one, and they're able to use it, or how?
Well, they would give it to their guests, so let's just, I think
Right.
Reeves is one of them, say 3 or 4 units that he has. He's allowed to purchase up to 4, and then he can, as guests come in, that's part of their package, so.
But how does that coincide with the price we charge for non-residents? So a non-resident season pass is $200.
Correct.
So why wouldn't we charge a non-resident $200 per room?
Well, they're only there for a
Yeah,
couple of
they're
days, they're only there for a
short-term.
week, so.
But that pass is good for the whole, every time somebody rents the room.
Yeah,
You're saying to
It's
charge
for the
them
whole summer for the
200.
room. So
Right.
you're, instead, they should, why are they paying less than a non-resident pass?
this is just how it was, I guess maybe it was a courtesy from the town, it's actually in our code book, $75. We just wanna move it up to 100. I think 200 would be a little extreme right away, and we could move our way up there. It's more of a courtesy than anything
Well, have you been
to the.
doing it? You
What?
said it's in there already, it's in the code.
Was for $75, yeah, we sell it
And-
every year.
And how many are you selling?
I have that number, not a whole bunch.
And how much is a day pass for a non-resident?
We sold 7, 8, 11, 12 last year at $900. Garrett Moore, Jim Eller, Jennifer Reeve, Duncan Kennedy, Alan Stromberg, those are the ones that take it.
But a non-resident day pass is how much?
35.
Yeah, the math's not added up for me on this one, because if we don't tell them this, then they just pay if somebody pays $35 as a non-resident to use our beach.
Or guests coming in, yeah, you would have to do that,
Right, so,
versus giving them just a pass as a courtesy. But the hotels
well, I don't
pay
think
for
it's a
it.
courtesy, I don't
No,
think.
it's a courtesy of the hotel to give it to their customer.
Yeah,
They
it's not
gotta
a
use
courtesy
our
of
beach.
us.
Preston House,
Right,
I
it's not
give
a
you
courtesy for
$1,000,
us.
you need 10 passes, and my guest comes, if you wanna use have your beaches, we have passes for you,
Yeah,
it's part of
yeah,
your
it's
Right.
incentive for
But
them.
if you're a non-resident here, then you pay to use the pass for the summer, your beach pass, which is the same as this, is $200.
Do you wanna charge them $200 a unit? They wouldn't do it, I can tell you that right now.
No,
Yeah,
but
but
so then
you're
they're-
more apt to get somebody that buys a yearly pass for 200 to use the beach an awful lot.
Not necessarily, they just, someone that comes out, that lives right outside of the border of the town, that wants to use the town beaches, they buy how many,
He'd come and pay $35 if you're only gonna come once or twice, he's not gonna pay $200 unless he's gonna go a
But,
lot.
but what I'm saying, with this one, you could have it could be rented out every single weekend, right? And they're coming every single weekend and during the week, and instead of paying the $35 pass, right, because normally they pay the $35 non-resident day pass, instead, the hotel is buying this for $75 and giving it as a gift to each one, so and yet they're using our beaches.
Well, you're
So-
hoping that by them, paying the $400 a night at the hotel, maybe going to get something to eat in town, it's part of a bigger economic package than just whether they go to the beach or not.
Well,
mean, I'm
each
just
one
looking
of
at-
the,
I don't
you
have
wanna
a
do
problem
100,
being-
each one of these are 100.
75.
Yeah, 75 they are right
He
now.
wants to put it up to
And so let's just say the Reeves place has 4 units, he can come in and purchase 4 at $75 a
Right.
pop. And so he'll just transfer, one guest comes in for one weekend, he'll include it, they give it back, and then so on and so forth.
So
that's
the
a-
only
That's good for
concern
one
is if
carload
you,
of people.
yeah, if
Yes.
you're up
Each-
to,
When they
each-
come on the
Yeah,
River
it's
Riviera
just
or-
one.
Each and every day.
Well,
Yeah.
if they elect to.
Yeah, people don't take that
I
much
get Disney
advantage of
passes,
it.
I
Again, we
never
only
go to
made
Disney.
$900, and that's the average of what we make. So we're just looking a little bit more, maybe to expand the program, that's all.
I mean, I think it's a good program, I think you should expand it to all of the large chain hotels.
That's what we're looking at.
But I would like to see it as a $200 fee for the room, and then they have access to it for the same as a non-resident who uses our beach. I think it's a win for them, because their guests don't, have the pass. It's not an expense to their guests.
But then there wouldn't be a win now, because they'd be very upset that we're moving from 75 to 200.
My thinking is a daily rate. You're thinking of a yearly rate.
Right, but what I'm saying
This
is,
is a daily rate.
no, this isn't a daily rate,
No,
that's
this is a
that's
season
a
rate.
seasonal rate for these rooms.
But the person using that is a person that's here for a weekend. It's a daily pass for them to go to the beach.
Each-
It's not the same person. So
But that's why you say that purple thing that you would give to a guest from a
Right,
hotel room
right.
should be the same rate that we
As
charge.
somebody that wants to buy a yearly pass to go every day to the beach, I
But
don't
they,
buy it.
but they can use this every day to go to the beach for their guests.
Not the
'cause
same person.
it doesn't matter if it's the same person, it's still somebody from a particular unit going to the beach all summer long.
That came to town and paid rent and gonna shop and gonna hang out the wineries, is gonna put what little money they have in their pocket and dump it on the East End and Ocean
But if
and
you
River.
have a guest stay at your house, right, and they wanna
They
take their.
take my wife's cars, we
But
have
if
to
they don't
stick
wanna
on it.
take, if they take their own car, they
Costs them
pay
nothing.
$35 to go to the beach.
Right.
Do you, I mean, if you could pay, if you have guests come to your house all summer, if you could buy this for $75, so your guests don't have to pay the fee to come into the park each and every day? I mean, that's what it's basically doing.
Well, why don't we?
No, my guest would
Why
use
don't we
my wife's car, it
compromise
won't cost
somewhere?
them nothing.
Why don't we
Yeah.
So,
compromise?
what the hell?
Definitely 75 is too cheap.
Yeah, I do think going to 200, you're gonna get all
You could do
those, they're gonna say,
150.
forget it, that's the
But how,
cheap enough.
how well has this
Let's see
been,
how that does.
how well has this been marketed to the hotels, and have you asked them if they're interested in doing
That'd
it?
be riveting, I had 12 last year.
You know,
Yeah.
the residents, but it may be that most of I mean, do we send a letter to the Marriott residents, to the
There's a lot of
Hilton
hotels.
Garden?
No,
to
that's
the-
what I'm saying, we're looking to expand it now.
So that's what I'm saying, if we're going to expand it, we know we only have 8 people that do it now, right? So if we try it at the 200 and we get more than 8, then that works. If we find out we only get 8 people still, then we revisit it again.
Okay, I just know the guys that do it now won't do it for 200, they can plan it to 75.
It's just a,
So we have a lot of hotels. Have you spoken to all the new hotels? We have a lot
No,
of
but I
hotels
don't
in
know if the
Beverly.
big chains will do something like this with, 200 units, I don't think they're gonna buy that. They might, we're gonna market it, but I don't think the big chains care whether they have a beach pass or not.
No, it's cheaper.
These
to
are
go
more
pay
for like the bed and
$35
breakfasts and the smaller, places that, people like to come every year to, like a vacation.
More than one, if they're.
I mean,
Do they have to buy the total number of units that they
No,
have at a
can-
hotel?
They can buy whatever they want.
So they could buy one pass and then
Yeah.
just use it for all 4
Okay.
units?
I think it's more of a courtesy, more than anything else,
Come enjoy Riverhead, come enjoy the beaches, things like that.
go hang out at the beach, buy something from that truck over there, so he can make a little bit of money for being there.
Well, I mean,
I
75
don't
is,
think you can throw it
75
up.
is low.
Throw it up to 200, yeah. To
Why
go
don't
from
we do
75
150?
to 200, I think is a
100.
big jump, even 150 is a big jump.
No, yeah, right. And like you said, it's not like, well, if it takes off, it might be, right now it's not worth anything, only 12 people are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, but again, because we market it to the,
But
to the.
I don't think,
I don't
I
know
don't
if
know
it's
that
been
people know
marketed.
about it.
I don't know that it's been marketed to
Right.
I've never seen that
hotels.
before.
Right.
I don't get beach tickets.
I never heard about it.
Yeah, I don't think
I'm not a
we're gonna
beach
market it to them, but I don't think the Holiday Inn Express is gonna care about this.
I mean,
It's
they
more of the
might. I
vacation
don't think you
homes.
should negate
We'll
that.
market it to them, but the big chains usually don't.
But even with vacation homes, it's a disconnect for me. So, I mean, why wouldn't somebody who, has a lot of guests, or who, rents their homes out, why wouldn't they just buy this $75 pass and, you
You'd
just
have-
leave it at the house for whoever wants to use it?
No,
You
they
can
can't
give
do that. It has to be a hotel motel type thing, that's in the code. So it has to be a commercial type unit.
So, but why are we selectively choosing motels and not somebody who rents their homes out?
I'm just saying what's in the code.
Yeah.
Well, then we need to change that.
If you're a home rental,
Well, then we can ask to see their rental permit,
That we
or
can
they
do.
have to buy it,
yeah.
which will force somebody maybe to get a rental permit. And then we can find out if they're staying there longer than the allotted time.
Well, if you're gonna put the price up, then you gotta also market it better. So
We said
if
we
you're gonna
would.
put the price up, then let us know and follow up with us on how it's marketed. I'd like to see that letters go out to all the hotels in the area and people who are, have vacation rentals.
Yeah, I said I would do that, that's no problem.
Okay.
There was a time out in Wading River, or a couple places that actually have our beach stickers where people can go buy the stickers from them, right? Are you
We
doing that
sell it
anymore?
only to the dailies, the
Right.
non-resident
Oh,
dailies.
just the
we sell,
dailies,
yeah.
that stores can sell, and it's
Yeah.
$35?
$35, yeah. It's really for the fishermen that come in really early.
So why don't we do this for this year? this is a compromise. Why don't we do, if you have, it will be $100 per room. You have to buy for all the rooms that you have, if you have 5 rooms or less. Over 5 rooms in your establishment, then it's $200 for the season, and you get the ticket. So the larger hotel chains, which will have more guests rotating in and out of them on a more frequent basis, because they can rent on a daily basis, whereas opposed to these other places tend to rent more for a week. And this way, we're not deviating too much from our past practice.
I don't think we should put a number on how many they have to buy.
Well, just for the
They can
number.
still only use, well, I mean, if it's like a small place, like
Give
the
me
Rita
10.
Cottages.
If I got 100 rooms, give me 10.
You're making them buy one for each
We'll
one,
make
and
it a
they may
service.
not
But they can
have
use,
that
but they
many
can use
people
it for
that
each
use
room, they
Well,
can-
yeah, but you make it available. Look, we have passes to the beach if you wanna go to the beach. Most people come out here, I don't think well, there may be some, but most people coming out here for Tanger, wineries, shopping, beaches may be part of it, but I don't know if that's the big draw.
Okay, so then we'll do this. If you have less than 5 rooms, you can buy the passes at $100. If your establishment is more than 5 rooms, then you pay the $200, the $200 fee.
That seems,
And it gets marketed to all the major hotels.
right, that sounds fine. I think that's a compromise.
But you're not gonna require the hotels to pay $200 for each room that they have.
No,
They're gonna pay $200 for the number of passes they
That
buy.
they want, okay.
We can
Okay.
make it a percentage of the number of rooms they have. If they have to have 100 rooms, they have to buy 20% of the rooms. I mean, we can put it as a percentage of the number of rooms, I think
I
would
don't
be.
think you'll sell any doing that, but.
No, you'd be better off buying
Letting them
3
do the
times
daily-
as many daily passes and give those to people. But that's right, whatever.
Alright.
4 times as many daily passes, 5 times as many daily passes.
So you wanna just leave it as a daily pass and only sell these to people that only have rooms under 5? Right, I mean, what do you, how many daily passes that we have? Who's coming in to do our daily passes? Who, are those people that are staying at the hotels, paying the daily fee to come to the beaches?
No, the daily passes are people really just coming in for the day. A lot of fishermen purchase the daily passes. I mean, we do well with daily passes
so
too.
the hotel,
have a
I
number
mean, the
for how many
hotels
you
and
sell
the
with you?
rentals are using
A
that.
number of daily passes?
Yeah.
I don't know if I have it on me, but I know
sell quite a
it's
few.
about $15,000-$16,000 worth of revenue. Let me see if I have that currently with me. I mean, I could definitely get that number for you, no problem, but I know we've increased every year too, which is great.
Well, we have better enforcement too than we had years ago at the beaches,
Yeah,
especially at the boat ramp.
Got those phone calls last year, oh boy.
what's that for?
We took a little boat, man.
Oh, yeah. I don't have it with me. I can get you the number. It's right on my
But it's a
desk.
fair amount of money we bring in from
It's a
that.
significant amount of money,
Yeah, I
and it's
don't
gone
wanna-
up big time over the last couple of years.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I don't want to have these passes sort of negate that daily fee of people coming, buying the day passes. I don't know, that's why we need a little bit more information to find out.
Take it out of the code, shred it, call it there.
I mean, well, what do you want me to do then? You want me to, because I could put in the I was gonna put in the resolution for the 20th, for this, and then I was gonna ask about the veterans too.
I think till we have more information on that, I think that we should not renew the daily beach passes. I think we just need a little bit more information as far as how much revenue we bring in for the daily beach passes, who we're attracting with the daily beach passes. If you could call some of the hotels and find out if it's something that they might be interested in, and see if this is, you know, a moot discussion, or it's something that they would be interested in.
We're talking about this, or the daily passes you passed already?
No, I'm talking about these,
You're talking about the hotel motel pass.
yes, hotel motel
But why
pass.
don't we have Ray come back to another
Yes.
work session
We
with
will.
the numbers, because, I mean,
Well,
it'll
what
be
numbers-
summer before we know it,
What
and
numbers
let's
are you
get this
exactly
done.
looking for?
Hmm?
What numbers are you looking for?
Talking about daily passes, aren't we asking about how many daily passes?
Well, that I can get you right away, yeah.
Is it
Are
about-
you talking about
not
one of
these?
Not-
In combination with those, because we want,
These 12 last year.
Yeah, we only
Yeah,
sold 12
no,
of
she's
them last
talking
year.
about daily
I
passes.
understand, but Ray is saying that he wants to mass market these to the hotels and other things, increase the price and mass market to the hotels. And I'm saying, we're trying to decide on the price.
Which would not be,
So, I think what we don't wanna take away from our daily pass revenue by selling those, if the people that are paying the daily pass revenues are coming from the hotels. And is there any thought that this may even be something the hotels wanna use? So I think, Ray, you need to reach out to a couple of managers at the hotels to say that if this was an offering from the town, would it be something they would be interested in? And try out the price point of, you know, 200.
and how would we know
Yeah, don't say that you
Daily
wanna pay
passes
75 or 200.
I don't know what.
If I pull into Jamesport Beach, well, let's say I'm from Matatuck or whatever, I pull in Jamesport Beach, I need a daily pass, are you gonna ask me where I'm staying? Where you coming from, where you live?
No, it doesn't matter.
So how are we
'cause
gonna get the
that's what that's
information
for.
whether those $17 million from
Well, it,
daily passes last
well,
year were
let's-
from hotel business?
well, let's see if the daily passes is $5,000 versus $15,000. If we know the hotel is interested in buying 150 of these, we know what the price we have for that at $200, and we know we can figure out where the cost benefit is.
Well, I can tell you,
It's
the
not-
dailies are over $15,000, that I could tell you, and it's gone up, nice percentage over the last 3-4 years.
And the question is, are they tend to be day trippers, or do they tend to be overnight stayers?
Unless we do a survey, it's almost impossible to find that out. I mean, these guys just buy it that day and that's it.
Yeah, a lot of times, "Oh, let's go to the beach, it's a nice day, let's go to the beach.
Yeah,
And
mostly
they go to the
fishermen, I'm
beach.
telling you, it's mostly fishermen.
So then
that
they're
come down.
mostly day trippers.
like you want
So this
French
would be
fries,
cap-
suggest
capturing additional revenue and people that have access to the beach.
Okay, so what do you want me to, I'm confused, I'm sorry.
Okay, if you,
I don't know what
we
to
want
do.
to find out what the revenue we have is for day passes at the beaches.
All right,
Do you wanna
let me
write
just
this down?
Yeah, I think I have to write this down.
Yeah, well, yeah, let me have a copy of it too, 'cause I'll be here.
For day passes, okay.
Like you to do a little fact finding to see if we had a $200 per room beach pass available to the hotels, would that be something they would take advantage of? Maybe we have 4 major hotels here, I think you could call around to speak to their managers, see if it's something they might be interested in doing. And then present those numbers back.
In the meantime, do you, I'll wait, cause the other guys wanna start buying their hotels, the Garrett Moores, the Kennedys, the Reeves.
Well, I think this all goes into the decision of whether there's 2 different price points for the smaller places and the larger places.
Okay.
You know, we know the hotels have daily turnover, where these places tend to have somebody rent for a week.
I mean, I see this more as, for the vacationers, come
It's
use
more
our
of
beach
a-
as a
it's
courtesy,
more of a
not the guys in the
promotional,
hotel.
It's more of a, enjoy our town,
Yeah.
please come, lay on the beach.
That's how we
get-
always use them,
Get
yeah.
stung by horseflies, go get some sap from CVS or whatever.
I think the day trippers are, day trippers, I think the people that are staying, I think we, you know, if you're seeing it as an amenity for the people that come to vacation here, I think that the people staying in a large hotel is just as important as people staying in a bed and breakfast, and I think that, you know, we need to take a look at what we're doing when we make the decisions. So, it's just,
I just don't understand the reason for 2 different price points. I mean, if you're staying in a Reeve Cottage or you're staying at the Hyatt, why are we charging you more because you're at one place over the other? I think the price should be the same for
because
across the board.
Because I think what Ray was saying is if you stay at these smaller places, it's like a family will come stay for a week, so it's one family, whereas a hotel, and so they may go to the beach 2 times during the week. Where if you're at a hotel, you turn over your hotel every single day, so you may have somebody using that pass each and every single day, because it's a different group of people, a different person staying in the room. So the turnover in the hotels is much greater.
Yeah, but
So you're
if
using
the
our
family of
facility
5 staying
much
for a
more.
week uses it 5 times a week, or if you have 5 different people that stay at the Hyatt and each one uses it each day, it's the same number of people using the beach, so I don't understand why you wanna charge
Boy, do we
more
overthink
for a
things.
larger.
But I think that goes to
Yeah,
Jim's
that's
point,
very
that there's other things you're doing here if you're staying for a week. You may not be at the beach every day, you'll go to Tanger, you'll go to the aquarium, you'll go, so there's not as much use of our facilities at the beach. So you're not using the bathroom, you're not using, you know, all
Right.
these other things,
So it
there's
should
not
be
so much
more,
garbage pickup.
should be less.
That, so, if we could just maybe get to that info back.
Move on, let's get that
Yep.
back, so we're gonna
Okay.
put it on the work
Change the
session
color, I
again.
don't like that color.
Hmm.
I don't like it.
Ray, veterans and fire department ambulance?
Yeah, I just wanna, put a resolution through to offer that again for the veterans and the fire department. The veterans, we started last year, you can see we sold
Reduced rate, right?
350 to the veterans, not sold, we,
Offer
issued, 350 to the veterans and 86 to the fire departments and ambulance. The veterans only had a choice for a parking sticker last year, the fire department ambulance, has a choice to do 4x4 or parking.
Yep.
So I'd like to just offer the same for the veterans as fire department ambulance
Sure.
and put a resolution through for that.
Yeah, I think
Fine
that's,
with
I
me.
think that's very good.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And
It went a long way with the
do for 'em.
veterans.
Council,
And, Jim will.
retired council,
Not council.
retired council.
Okay, that's all I had.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
All right, next we have the ramp program grant.
Yeah, Dawn's next one. Ray, were you gonna stay with Dawn?
Ray,
Who's,
I think you're staying for this one.
I don't said, she said they're gonna reschedule.
Okay, all right, so then I guess just move on to resolution.
Okay,
oh, who's color?
all right.
Who's color?
Liz Flood.
Oh, who's what?
Oh. I gotta sign in again, hold a minute.
Oh my God, I am like,
Our thing is,
yeah.
Your face is.
I am so, I feel like my face is gonna explode.
No, it's not that red, just a little.
Hey, look at that, I'm up on, resolutions already.
Oh, you're up and running with the computer?
I'm under my home Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Does this mean you're gonna be in a better mood?
No. Cool. Oh, well, you're gonna hear a lot out of me over the next few months. I don't have to tiptoe anymore.
I am just trying to get to,
Okay, mine's up if you wanna use mine.
Ratifies authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with an employee.
Do you wanna use this?
no, let me just,
I have no idea what,
I don't know what that's about.
that's gotta be, you know who.
okay, ready? So one, ratifies authorization for the supervisor to execute an agreement with an employee.
Yep.
Two is offer support to the county of Suffolk for the acquisition of Suffolk County Tax Map 600-128-3-48 and Suffolk County Tax Map 600-119-2, lots 1.0, 5.56, 57, and 58.
Did you
And
skip one? 'Cause
authorizes
that's not-
partnership between town and county such that the town will improve and maintain properties as a hamlet park. That's what Al Krupski came for?
Okay,
This
I don't
is-
have that as number 2.
This is Sims
I
property.
do, I have it as number 2.
Yeah, it's both properties. It's the property on West Main Street across from the historical.
Oh, you put them together, how crafty. I like it, okay.
3 is order calling a public hearing pursuant to section 302-B of town law regarding budget increase for improvements to the Calverton Sewer District. That's what I just
Hold
told
on,
you.
hold on. My number 2 is completely different than what you have.
But when you go into the split screen, it'll be the same.
4 is authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with Celtic Quest, Inc.
Okay, good.
5 is authorizes issuance of requests for proposals for new renewable energy project to be located at the former landfill site. That's an RFP for, solar at the landfill.
Oh, okay, good.
6 is approves Kevin
Rempy.
Rempy Plumbing and Heating Corp. as drain layer for
Oh.
Riverhead Sewer District.
Good for him.
7 is authorize the removal of fixed asset records from
What's your
system.
language?
John, did that just scrap or?
I didn't get that talk to Bill. Bill, can we just add about scrapping, that if any of the items can be scrapped, we can get scrap value for it on that fixed assets resolution as well? I know we did it last year.
All right, so if you guys are okay with that, the authorizes removal of fixed assets records from the system will just include that if they can, sell any of the scrap, that they have permission to do that, instead of just disposing. 8 is budget, transfer. 9 is classifies action and requests lead agency status for a special permit and site plan application known as 48 Cromer LLC for proposed liquid propane storage and distribution facility and industrial office building, trade shop facility located at 48 Cromer Avenue, identified as Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-119-132-1. 10 is, bless you, ratifies reappointment of members to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preservation Committee. 11 is ratifies reappointment of members to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preservation Committee. And 12 is ratifies reappointment of members to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preservation Committee. If it's okay at the meeting, we'll take those together. 13 is ratifies the authorization of attendance at the 2019 annual meeting and training school held by the Association of Towns, February 17th through 20th, 2019. 14 is ratifies reappointment of members to the Riverhead Open Space Park Preservation Committee.
How'd that get?
How'd that get out of line?
How'd that
I
get out
don't know,
of
but
order?
we'll
Yeah.
just put them together.
Oh, that's Marge, that's why, she has to be all side of something.
15 is resolution to change town, board member meeting time.
Boy, did you throw a monkey wrench in that.
I'm sorry about that. 16 is 2019 Town of Riverhead Home Improvement Selection Policy. 17 is adopts a local law amending Chapter 255 entitled Parades, Assemblies, and Special Events at the Riverhead of the Riverhead Town Code. 18 is authorization to publish advertisement for disposal and recycling of municipal solid waste. 19 is authorize town clerk to publish and post the attached notice to bidders for the annual procurement contract. 20 is authorizes town clerk to post and publish the attached notice to bidders for the annual construction contract. 21 is attendance of one police department employee to the MPTC Defensive Tactics Instructor class.
Oh, good thing.
Number 22 is extend bid contract non-pro-tunc for heating fuel. 23, we obviously don't need heating fuel in here today, I'm telling you. 23 is amends resolution, 2019-60 to authorize an agreement with Municipal CMS LLC for a 5-year term. 24 is
Look at 25.
amends resolution 2019-65 to revise beginning date of the 1-year term of the agreement with Granicus. 25 is authorizes co-sponsorship of Alive on 25 Festival on July 3rd. They did the July 3rd date last year, which worked out very well to be able to do the fireworks, so I'm glad that they're doing that again.
15.
July 18th, August 1st, that's my wedding anniversary. August 15th, 2019, rain date will be August 22nd, 2019, 5 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. with the Riverhead Business Improvement District Management Association, Inc., along Main Street between Griffin Avenue and Union Avenue, authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement with designated craft food vendors, alcohol vendors, and other parties, suspends enforcement of the Riverhead Town Code Section 305-3, public consumption and open possession of an alcoholic beverage, as solely limited to the aforementioned dates, time, and place of the Alive on 25th Street Festival. They are not allowed to amend that ever. 26 is extends bid for the annual heating, ventilation, and air conditioning maintenance contract. 27 is authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing to consider a proposed local law for the amendment to Chapter 289 entitled Vehicles, Traffic, and Parking Regulations of the Riverhead Town Code 289-2A, Stop and Yield Intersections, Railroad Crossings, Parking Yield, 289-2B, Yield Intersections, Two Bear Subdivision,
What in the world are they calling for there?
Middle Road. There's actually a stop sign and a map there. We included the map. It's the second attachment.
They're gonna be happy.
28 is authorizes town clerk to publish and post a notice of public hearing to consider a local law for an amendment to change Chapter 289 entitled Vehicles, Traffic, and Parking Regulations of the Riverhead Town Code 289-2A. I'm reading a different one. Stop and yield intersection, railroad crossing, parking, fields, 289-2B, yield, Church Lane and Tuttle's Lane, Jamesport. 29 accepts the retirement of a detective. 30s adopts local law to amend Chapter 301 entitled Zoning and Land Development of the Riverhead Town Code. That's just an adopt of the changes that we had the public hearing on, I believe. 31 is adopts local law to amend Chapter 217 entitled Buildings, Constructions, and Improvement and Housing Standards of the Riverhead Town Code. That was the adjustment to the blighted property. 32, setting the fees for usage of recreation and other town facilities. I think everybody has seen that. 33 is authorization to publish advertisement for Ford automotive replacement parts for the town of Riverhead. 34 is 2/22/19 draft Town of Riverhead authorization to publish this isn't a draft, right? This is just Town of
The title actually stops at Riverhead, I'm sorry, it looks like the whereas.
Okay, so I'm just starting with authorization, right? Authorization to publish advertisement for truck parts for the town of Riverhead where.
Stop there.
Okay,
That's the first, yeah, that's
thank
the
you.
typo. Sorry about that.
35 is authorize the release of foundation security for Brixmore Riverhead Development LLC, the Shops at Riverhead Foundation addendum. 36 is authorizes the release of foundation security for Brixmore Riverhead Development LLC, the shops at Riverhead Foundation. 37 is authorization to publish advertisement for vending machines, and
Is 35 and 36 a repeat?
No, they're two different things.
They are, they both say the shops at Riverhead
They
Foundation.
just have the same title, they're for different amounts, one is for 12,000, one is for 3,000.
Alright,
and then, I read 37, right? The publish for vending machines. And 38 is extension bids for auto and truck repairs.
good lord.
All right,
Where did all these stop signs come
Okay.
out of traffic?
yes.
Cause I'm missing,
I gotta go right on those names.
my numbers were all off by one by everything you read, and I just went to Granicus and I opened this up. And I'm missing one that, issues negative declaration pursuant to SECR and grants the special permit application of United Riverhead Terminal Incorporated, 212 Sound Shore Road, Jamesport, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-7-1-2. Why is that not?
Jim, there was a subsequent email that didn't include that. So you're on the first email, you needed to be on the second email, I'm sorry.
What happened to this?
I did not place it on the
Changed it.
agenda
She
yet.
updated it.
I updated it.
Okay, we requested yesterday that this be put on today's agenda.
I do not have that request.
Oh, I don't know what you guys.
I didn't request it to you, I requested it to the town attorney's office.
Right, but I put the agenda up.
So I can't go to the town attorney and have them put a resolution up for me? When did this change?
It's never changed, it's always been the same way.
It's never been that way. That's incorrect.
No.
That's very incorrect.
Nope.
Alright, well, I would like to have this resolution up.
You can, I did not put it on the agenda, you certainly can take it off the table at the meeting if you choose to. Or how else is it done?
I mean, if Tim wants to add it, we just didn't add it to this right now. Tim's requesting it now, we can add it to the packet, and then it'll be on the Tuesday agenda, since you're requesting it right now, basically.
Okay,
We just didn't put it in this pre-prepared packet, because we typically work with the town clerk's office to prepare this. But if a board member wants to request something, you can add it to the packet after the fact.
Yeah.
so do you wish to add it to the
I
agenda?
absolutely wish to
Okay.
add it to the agenda, please.
And then I do have two other resolutions that Anne Marie's brought in to me
Okay.
regarding,
Oh, well, then let's get them up. I mean.
Oh, for
we
Anne
can
Marie,
table
of
the
course.
councilman ones, but let's bring
doing
those
the
up.
same thing as you are right now. This is, regarding a contract with McLean, this has to do with the Epcot subdivision, and then canceling a contract. And she can come up and discuss it if you'd like.
Ooh, you slammed it on the mic.
Oh,
You trying to
sorry
make a
about
point?
that. Not on purpose. And that's a different one. There's two.
Oh, this is McLean, this is a Riverside thing.
And one for Tim.
Tim, if I don't put something on the agenda, you just can request it.
Sorry for the
You don't have to put it on,
confusion.
you can request to put it on at the meeting. It's over.
At
You can do
the
that.
work session.
Yes, what you just did.
Okay.
So very
It's
quickly,
different, that's, okay, go ahead, sorry.
VHB requested that we terminate the contract with them. As the town board is well aware, they were contracted to do the reuse and revitalization of EPCAL. They completed the environmental secra.
Yeah, they.
We have the amended zoning map, updated and amended, urban renewal plan. Thereafter, the town board adopted all that. Then the town, actually had an opportunity to sell the property, under that, contract with, Illuminati / 555. The subdivision was to be amended. VHB, quote, did a portion of the work to amend it, the subdivision plan. McLean did the other end or other spectrum of the work that had to be done to amend that subdivision. At this point in time, VHB has requested to be released from the professional services agreement. McLean, because obviously we need to, quote, now
Perfected.
put forth a preliminary subdivision, a yield map, and a final subdivision before the planning board, before Suffolk County Health Department, and before New York State DEC. And McLean has set forth a proposal and willingness to undertake tasks related to that. So, one is, resolution is terminating with VHB, the other is moving forward with McLean. VHB has already turned over the quote CAD files.
And are those public, or like, if VHB has all the CAD files, those are all public files that they can share?
They are our files pursuant to the contract with VHB.
So are they, they can be given to CAT, from VHB directly to CAT, or that has to come through the town?
Has to come through the town. We own them under the agreement with VHB. It specifically states that is our property, no one else's. And they've turned it over to us, so we have it.
And can they contract, can CAT contract then VHB to be their surveying and landscape architect?
Well, that requires a legal opinion,
Okay.
and I would have to do research on that. I can do that for the town board. I have, you know, I'm a little bit cautious in, you know, replaying the contract terms in my head and the ethics, rules and regulations, whether or not they can do that, because they've been privy, VHB has been privy to confidential information by and through the town board in order to do the work regarding the reuse and revitalization plan. And a lot of that
So
information.
thank you for not answering it, but answering it.
Well,
No, she's answering.
I'm giving you, you know, I
Practical.
believe
Yeah,
if I
practical.
look into it further,
Practical.
that might still be my opinion, so.
All right, so any questions on?
Now, we know McLean, cause they worked with them, hand in hand.
Right,
in some
correct, they
aspects
had
of it.
done the original survey work.
So they're no
the-
strangers to this property.
Correct,
Okay.
and,
They know
you
what
know,
needs to be done, okay?
yeah.
Thank you.
No problem with that.
So everybody's comfortable with these?
Yes.
Yep, okay, so one would be, thank you. One is to terminate the agreement with VHB Engineering, Surveying, Landscaping, Architect PC, and the second is authorizing the supervisor to execute an agreement with LK McLean Associates PC.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank you.
Emery, thank you for all your work. I know nobody tells you enough, but I do.
All right, so can I have a first and second to go into executive
Just, hang on a second, Laura, just go back with what you said before about presenting a resolution at a work session.
So I make up the agenda, right? So I put the agenda forward. If you, at this meeting, want to put a resolution forward that I don't have in the packet in my agenda, you can certainly present that item to be included in the agenda.
Okay.
It's been done quite a few times already.
Okay.
It's usually just not you.
No, it's not, but ones I've done prior, I've done them differently and
Yeah.
they've gone through, that's why I was questioning.
Yeah.
All right, then I would like
I
to,
wasn't in agreement to put that on the agenda. I still have some questions about that. I did
Okay.
not see the draft. Was talking to our planning department yesterday about that, and I thought there was still some outstanding questions that I had not been replied to, and that was my reasoning for that.
okay. Then in the spirit of this, then I would like to also ask to have a resolution put up, awarding the title for community development director to Dawn Thomas.
Well, do you have a resolution you would like to put?
There
in?
is one that was completed, I don't have it in front of me right at the moment.
You wanna present it? Do we need to present that now?
If Tim is requesting it, we'll just pass it around to the board.
I have some reservations about that because Dawn is currently a provisionary employee. There was a civil service test that was given. There are 4 candidates that are approachable as per the civil service exam. I think it is a department head position. I think it is an important position in the town. I think Dawn has been serving in the position for an entire year. I think she does a good job.
Excellent.
But I believe that as a department head position, and because we have 4 qualified applicants in the spirit of transparency, that we should interview, the 4 candidates that are reachable on the list. And I think that it's prudent, to do that, to make sure that we conduct the interview process for those who have taken the test.
And
So-
normally that's a good way to go, but that's not, normally when you hire somebody to fill a position, and to fill that position, temporarily, or whatever you wanna say, pending.
Provisionally.
Provisionally, it's because you're waiting them to take the test and hopefully score within the top 3 to be appointed full-time. Well, you certainly couldn't get better than 100. So, past practice in this town has always been hire provisionally, you know the onus on you to pass the test. If you don't pass the test, you're gonna be let go. We've done it with, I won't say hundreds, but plenty of employees in
As
this
department
town.
heads?
Department heads,
Which department heads did we do that?
I don't know about department, no, maybe not
See, I
department
think
heads.
department heads are different. I mean, we had somebody just a couple weeks ago who was a provisional employee that worked underneath a department
Well, I
head. The
realize you're
department head
advocating to interview because I-
recommended them, and I stood by that recommendation, because it was a recommendation from the
Now,
department head.
are the 4 that, are they Riverhead residences? Do you know?
I don't know.
No, they're
No,
not.
they're not.
They're not.
But I think it behooves us to interview them and to see who is who is the most qualified for the job. I don't doubt that it will be Dawn. But I think that
to me,
it is.
it's not fair. It's just not, to me, it's a smack in the face.
I don't-
would hate like hell to work 18 months to do what I think is a good job and to be very transparent and create the things that she created with meeting notices and minutes and all those things that she's doing.
Well, that was done through the committee.
And you
through
speak to
the-
her staff.
That was done through the CDA committee, and that was done as a
Well,
committee
it's still a
effort.
slap in the face,
But-
to me, that's all.
I don't think that interviewing 4 people that have the same score on the test, I think of the.
Interviewing 3 additional people.
3 additional people, that have the same score on the test is,
No.
I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think
No,
that,
I
you know,
think-
the person remains in the job, they remain being paid. You know, I think this is a
It's just
professional,
insulting.
this is a
That's
department
insulting.
head, it's a professional job, and I think part of that,
I still think it's insulting.
This is, because she's been working provisionally, if she was not doing her job, we would not have kept her. I think she's doing an excellent job. I see no reason to waste other people's time to bring them in for a false interview, if, as you say, and no doubt in your mind, Dawn's gonna be the one. Don't
I
waste
didn't
the
say
other.
Dawn was gonna be the one, I said I think that we should interview everybody.
But you just said you think, no, you just said you think Dawn will probably be the one.
Okay,
Okay, so why would you waste other people's time? I can tell you right now, I know there's 3 votes on this board to keep Dawn and put her in this position and give her this title.
but I'm gonna say that none of you have come to me and asked me, you know, just my thoughts on this. The department head has not come and requested to move from provisional to in that position. I think that's a little odd. I think as a professional in a department head position.
In all fairness, Laura, before you wanna draw a line in the sand, I'm gonna tell you, I didn't hear about this till yesterday afternoon, first off.
Neither did
And
I.
I spoke with you this morning. So, it's not like I had a lot of time to run to you about anything, first off. But I know past practice, and maybe I can't point to a department head, but I can tell you that those hired provisionally pending a passing of a civil service test have not been passed over that I know of in this town.
Not, because they've had the recommendation of their department head. We have not, there's not been anybody that I could find that has been in a provisional position that received the position that was not recommended by their department head. And I'm gonna say, I'm not,
If that be the case, then we as the board would be the department head of Dawn, and 3 of us are saying does an excellent job.
And I am concerned what you're basing that on. And I would say that I would recommend the interviewing of the 4 candidates.
Okay,
I'm
just
not
have
gonna,
to
I'm
agree
not
to
gonna, I'm
disagree
not
on
gonna,
that.
you know, go over somebody's job, qualifications in a public forum. I don't think that's the place for
I
it to be.
agree,
So,
but, you know,
I am just
the only
saying that
thing
I am recommending, from my,
I know what you're recommending,
I
and
work
then you're
here on
gonna
a
be
daily
outvoted, and that's
basis.
the way it's gonna go. But
And Jim, and I
can-
just wanna point out one thing to
I
you
still
about.
think it's not fair. It's not fair as a manager, it's not fair to the workforce, it's not fair just in the spirit of community employment. It's not fair. And I don't care who it is. I don't care who it's not the right thing to do.
Jim, and I would not have been, we would not have been in this position if we were in, but I found out yesterday that a resolution was written up, outside of my office, and the department head knew about it, and a council person knew about it. They put it forward as a resolution
I grant
without
you.
any conversation in my office at all. So that I find
That was the
disturbing
first-
also, and
that was
that's
the first
why we
email I
are,
saw. I agree.
and that's why we're in the situation we're in now. This is not in any way, shape, or form what I would have chosen to have a conversation about this position.
I understand.
So I don't disagree with you, I think it is ridiculous to do it this way.
I know the issue got forced on you by
Yes.
outside, I get it,
Yes.
I get it, and I don't like that either, but that's a whole separate
Well, it's
discussion.
not really a separate discussion, because one it dovetails the other, excuse me for 1 minute, let us finish talking. Let me finish talking. Well, all right, so this is where we are.
Okay.
So, it'll be on the agenda, and then we can vote on it.
Okay, thank you.
Can I have a first and second to go in executive session? Personnel, matters regarding the potential hiring of employee, matters regarding the potential hiring of employee, matters regarding the potential hiring of employee, contractual negotiations with S-Power regarding the terms of a contract, settlement of a contractual issue regarding the Riverhead PDA, and proposed litigation with Suffolk IDA related to 20 East Main Street.
I move that we go in for those purposes.
Thank you.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
By the way,
No,
Tim,
no question, get
Tim,
out.
No, it's an important question. Does this mean that you resolved the issue of confidentiality in the executive session? Because where we left off was Bob was gonna do more research, I mean.
Actually, I
exactly
should have Bob come
resolved.
up. Bob